tonight. Won't you talk to me? I wanna heal your sorrow. Talk to me. We'll make a new tomorrow. Won't you talk to me? We'll make this happen. Showing off, don't wanna have to wait tonight. Better off, I'm gonna find my way tonight. Won't you talk to me? I wanna heal your sorrow. Talk to me. We'll make a new tomorrow. Won't you talk to me?
was wrong to say I wouldn't change a thing, 'cause in the story of our lives, the best of times through color glass, time rolls on enough to let me move on past, but every little now and then it creeps on back to shade my smile. I was wrong to say I wouldn't change a thing, 'cause in the story of our lives, the best of times through color glass, time rolls on enough to let me move on past, but every little now and then it creeps on back to shade my smile. Some days there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself, there's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. It might take some time, but I'll be alright. I'm moving on, moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. Moving on, moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. Some days there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself, there's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. It might take some time, but I'll be alright. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I'm moving on. Talking to myself and I can't focus. Yeah, I'm broken. The door is closing. Wanna be a part of something more than this. I've lost control of it. Oh, seeing the stars reminds me of you. Oh, oh, oh. You left me with scars, but I know that one day you'll see it through. You see it through. You see it through. Eh. You see it through. You see it through. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife. Talking to myself and I can't focus. Yeah, I'm broken. The door is closing. Wanna be a part of something more than this. I've lost control of it. Oh, seeing the stars reminds me of you. Oh, oh, oh. You left me with scars, but I know that one day you'll see it through. You see it through. You see it through. Eh. You see it through. You see it through. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife.
A pair of jeans, a shirt or two. We didn't pack as if we weren't going back. It doesn't matter if it's true. I've got a feeling love will give us what we lack. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. Yeah. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights. Tomorrow feels a year away, like the seconds, the beginning and the end. But if in time it's yesterday, your picture's gonna bring it home to me again. The world is waiting up, the world is waiting half a step beyond our door. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights.
Watching this best of three between ELY and RFE, I didn't look up to actually pull up what the names of the teams are. Let me go do that real quick.
We've got Elysium, Omen on the blue side, and Rocketfellas, Equinox, if I'm remembering that
there
right,
we go.
on the red side. And this game action tonight has some pretty important playoff implications here. Elysium Omen currently is sitting in the 3rd seed and is looking to secure that spot, along with maybe making a play to jump into that top 2 spot, depending on how the games tonight between Dorado and Syndicate go. Whereas Rocketfellas Equinox are sitting in 6th seed, looking to try and move up in the standings to get up into that top 4 spot and secure themselves a place in the playoffs.
Yeah, playoff implications are starting to really come online as we get later and later into the season. These matches matter more and more. So it's really up to not just if you can make it into the playoffs, but if you can get yourself some good seeding in the playoffs, because that's going to matter a lot with all sorts of different things. Like you can get more favorable matchups, you can get, better pick, you get pick priorities, etc., etc. So a lot riding onto this match as we see right out the bat. A first pick Volibear, followed up by Avaris, and we'll see what they want to pair with Avaris. Maybe they'll pick a support here. Maybe they look for a jungler to match against the Volibear, and they do with the Nocturne.
I already gotta say, Rocketfellas have taken to the school of drafting here in season 2024. They're banning Smolder on the red side, and until next patch, you're probably gonna have to keep doing that, as we are still on patch 14.5, so Smolder is still very, very good. He won't be gutted until at least a week from now, and Elysium Omen are looking to look like they are responding to the bottom lane with the Senna and the Tom Kench actually locked in as well, just locking away the bottom lane duo. It's still really strong. People have experimented with other pairings with Senna, but I feel like TK is just still the one for her.
Yeah, Tom Kench is going to be the best one. As we see the Blitzcrank, though, that is definitely a gutsy pick there for Panda Boat in the support role. You have to be careful with how you're landing these pulls. If you can get the Senna far enough away from the Tom Kench so that he can't eat the Senna and spit her back where she belongs, that could be great opportunities because the Tom Kench, if you're far enough behind, Blitzcrank lands the pull, the knockup, the Varus ult on top of all of that, and you could have some very favorable early on trades. So we'll have to see how that pairs out for them. Very risky, volatile bot lane if you could land those hooks well or not. As we continue into the draft, Aurelion Sol taken off the table, Orianna off, Nico, and finally Talia. So we're going to see some mid laners and probably top laners go back and forth unless it's one of those rare Volibear top lanes and we see another jungler come out. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a mid lane picked here blind. I'm expecting to see maybe like an Ahri. The Nico is off the table, so all those premier mid laners are gone. Ahri would be who I'd be looking for here if I'm RFE here.
Yeah,
so Ahri or a
available. There's still
Sway,
some
I guess.
pocket picks like Cassiopeia or Polly if you're looking for that. But no, you called it out right. The Ahri is locked in for RFE. I will say I would have been a big fan of the Hui here. I think it would have matched their team well. But right now they do have a lot of dive and single target pick with this Blitzcrank, the Nocturne, and now the Ahri follow up as well. So plenty of things to do for them, but this is the kind of thing we've been seeing in pro play recently, unlocked in the LPL and now talked about in a bunch of other regions. Annie versus the Ahri, just for that point and click CC with that Q in the passive. It seems to be a fairly favorable matchup for the Annie at the very least. We'll see how much Kobita can do with that, as they're going to grab the Aatrox as well, making sure that that Volibear is going to go into the jungle. And Aatrox is a fairly safe blind top lane pick. I don't hate it. Okay.
We've got the Yorick to go into the Aatrox. Yes, Aatrox is a very safe counter pick, but it can struggle later and later in the game as this Yorick starts to come online in a side lane. So I like what they have put together here on red side, what Rocketfellas have for themselves here. They have this kind of four-man bundle of this Ahri, the Blitzcrank, the Varus, and the Nocturne looking for picks, and then Nocturne being able to bounce between that pick comp and that split push comp of the Yorick, being able to just set up those 3-1s with a roaming jungler looking for opportunities to pick off people and get the rotation speed. Very exciting comp. They're going to want to play with a lot of aggression. They're going to want to play with a lot of proactivity in this comp, looking to split the map apart and pick them apart then one by one based off of that. So it should be very exciting. But the comp there of that Senna for the shielding, the Volibear to keep himself healthy, the Tom Kench to eat, and then the CC guarantee that Annie provides, it can be difficult to dive or pick people off in that comp.
Yeah, I do think the Elysium Omen comp here is very easy to execute on. You have Senna and Annie for that simple backline, and Annie is really easy to just point and click engage on. You flash forward, you drop the bear, and there's your team fight. Senna, super easy to execute onto the backline. You have a Tom Kench to protect her, and you have Aatrox and Volibear in the front to just stand in front as meatballs and keep her alive. So a lot of this dive coming through from Rocketfellas is going to have to break through a lot of these big beefy boys in the front line. It's a very simple and easy to execute on front to back team composition. So it really is going to be on Rocketfellas, like you said, with that volatility, with that single target pick, to try and find their way into this game and find some important picks, find a nice hook onto that Senna or onto that Annie without then losing it to the Tom Kench ult.
Yeah, lots of very interesting and very different strategies here. The simple 5v5 team fight comp for Elysium, and this strange kind of pick slash split push comp for Rocketfellas. I'm excited to see how they play them out. Is it going to work out for who? And I'm excited to see if this Yorick is going to work out, because we've seen kind of hints of it throughout amateur, and I don't think we've seen it much in pro play though. So I'm curious to see how it's going to work out for them.
Yeah, the Yorick really is the pick that kind of stands out for me here, and not 100% in the most positive way. I do think that there's potential for the pick here if Victini can get ahead on the side lane, if he can start to get a snowball of a lead either through CS or through kills versus the Aatrox, but Yorick is one of those champions that is very feast or famine up there in the top side. He's not going to bring a ton of utility to a team fight. The Maiden's going to be there and she'll be nice, but what you're really picking him for is that split push presence. You want him on the side lane with the Maiden, being a threat, dragging 2 or even 3 people over to the side lane. And if he's far behind and you can just be matched by one person, or even if you're not even enough of a threat to lean one person over to the side lane, it really can lean more into that famine as opposed to the feast.
Absolutely. All right. So draft is kind of sorted out. We know what the strategies are going to be, and all that's left is to hop into game, and we will be getting into that here very shortly. Don't go anywhere. Oh, we're just
Yeah.
jumping right into it. Never mind. So here we go.
are on the riff for game one. Elysium Omen versus Rocketfellas Equinox. Already, we're seeing some early action on the bottom side of the map here for Elysium. They're maybe expecting this Blitzcrank to invade and trying to play around it, look for a little cheeky 5-man stack. But Rocketfellas don't want to play too aggressive in the early game. They're just going to do their simple 5-man stack and don't want to lose any of the game at this level 1 point.
Yeah, it's probably smart for them to do that 5-stack there in the bot bush. They want to prevent just in case the Blitzcrank looks for a fun little invade. So stacking as 5 there can be good for you. But nothing to come of it, just a standard 5-point across the board for the other team. So they prevent the invade. They're going to hang around there for probably a couple more seconds, then head over to leash that red buff up. And then Nocturne, flip side, is also going to be starting there on that red buff, unless he does the chicken start up there at KFC, which I like to call it. But we'll have to see what the jungle pathing is.
Yeah, Nocturne isn't too bad at doing the Raptor start. He's got the AoE passive alongside his Q. He can really get rid of the AoE camp pretty quickly, alongside the new jungle pets that I think in general mean a lot more junglers can start on the Raptors solo than you would initially think that they could, just because the pet is applying that true damage AoE to the entire camp the whole time. And I think more often than not, being leashless is going to be able to hide your start from the opposing team a lot better, and it just gives you a little bit less. It gives the enemy team a little bit less information to work with, which can work out pretty heavily in your favor.
Absolutely. So unless unless Rocketfellas assume that Dilly and Barolo faked the leash there, they have a pretty good idea where Volibear is. Although Volibear, interestingly, did do the red straight into blue path, whereas Nocturne up there is doing the Raptors into Krug's path. So Nocturne wants to do a full clear, wants to get as much XP out as possible to rush to that level 6, which is very important. Volibear, on the meantime, is going for a bit more of a tempo strategy. I'm thinking trying to clear quickly through the buffs and maybe look for a level 3 gank mid lane or top side.
Yeah, and this is pretty standard for what both these junglers want to do. Nocturne, that first ulti, really is one of the most important points for that champion, like you said, that level 6 mark. And for Volibear, getting on the map early, that as soon as you hit level 3, you've got that charge and you have the lightning. That's all you really need to take a full gank down, as we're already seeing some aggressive trading from Victini.
He's here.
The ward is down. Guster Posey does show himself, but Victini with the ward, with the information, is just going to be able to walk away from that one. But yeah, there's that first game from Volibear. I think we're going to be expecting to see a lot more. He did 3 camps, gank top, and it looks like he wants to run mid, as there's a trade in the bottom lane here, actually, as Barolo, maybe the one in trouble, flashing away from the play. The Ignite used by Panda Boat. Just a little bit of over-aggression, but a nice hook from Panda Boat and a good punish.
Yeah, Panda Boat having a nice little hook there through their own minion wave. So the hook kind of slides right through and lands right onto the Tahm Kench, forces the flash, and the Ignite does get traded back for it. But outside of that, it's definitely a favorable trade, as that hook is just short. That was a nice little back scratch there from Panda Boat.
Yeah, very, very close overall. It's kind of what we're going to be seeing in the bottom lane. I do stylistically really like Blitzcrank versus the Senna Tahm Kench, not only because you have the hook into the TK and you can get a lot of poke down and he's not the best at engaging early on into the game, but also the shield break passive. Once you hit that level 6, Tahm Kench can feel very safe once he starts stacking up that gray health. It gets that big meaty shield, but the great thing about Blitzcrank is you can just sort of ignore the shield as long as you time that ult properly. It's similar to the Rel versus Tahm Kench matchup that we used to see in days of old, but Blitzcrank seems to be the go-to counter nowadays.
Yeah, Blitzcrank is having a nice game, already blown a flash bot lane, has landed a nice hook there, and they have the push bot lane as well. Both junglers are pathing towards bot side, though Nocturne has full cleared that jungle and taken a scuttle, and Volibear is on the Krugs and might be looking to try to exert some pressure bot side to help clear that wave out, but Varus and Blitzcrank are going to call it a good early game, go back and spend some of that money.
Yeah, but you can sort of see the disconnect in the CS, like the disparity there between the two junglers. You can see how far ahead Nocturne gets in his clear versus the Volibear. It's, again, the stylistic difference between these two junglers. On Nocturne, you want to be getting to that level 6 mark. You want to be pushing aggressively, looking to get to that ulti as soon as possible. But with Volibear, as soon as you clear 3 camps, you just want to be ganking. So emotional damage does have a couple of camps to lead over Guster Posey, and we'll have to see if Guster Posey can sort of make up that lead in the side lanes and look to start playing for these lanes, as I'm going to be real, not a lot of them are super easy for him to gank.
No, it's some difficult ganks on both sides. The Annie is hard to dive onto because she can just stun and shield herself up. Aatrox has that ult and the dash. Yorick just has the Maiden to just, 2v2 whenever they want to. And Ari can just kind of Spirit Rush out. Blitzcrank has the hook and the CC, and Varus has the C. There's just a lot of difficult ganks all the way across the board. So I expect to see maybe Nocturne looking to use this ultimate in some very interesting ways, just because the ganks are so difficult.
Yeah, I think the first ulti we see out of emotional damage is gonna be very important, but for now it is just gonna be the trade of objectives that we see in the early game. Top side priority gets you those early Void Grubs, and bottom side priority gets you the Dragon. It is an early Ocean Dragon, so it's not the most impactful early on into the game. The extra health regen is nice, but it's not gonna be game ending for either side.
No, but it's gonna be a nice little something, especially for the Yorick topside, who already wants to be playing with the health bar so much because of how much lifesteal you just kind of naturally get with the kit. But it's gonna be nice for the Yorick. Ari as well has a little bit of heal as we see a hook go just south of Dilly and Barolo.
Yeah, but yeah, I think and emotional damage coming pretty close to that bottom lane, looking to get on top of that bottom lane. But so far, still no first blood. It's been a very quiet early game.
Very, very quiet indeed. Kind of handshaking the objectives, just quietly full clearing both of your jungle camps. Then Volibear has caught up a little bit. Did have that one little just pressure onto the Yorick, but outside of that, it's been very quiet for the most part. Like you're saying, just kind of crashing each other's waves into each other, and then resetting. The top lane has so much sustain that no one's going to really die too likely early on here. Mid lane, both are just so safe, and bot side, they both kind of want to scale up to level 6, so they're all just kind of happy to do what they want to do and just say, we're not at our power point, so we'll just kind of chill and wait for the Nocturne to come online, wait for the Senna stacks to show up, and everyone's just kind of happy to do themselves and just vibe out and play some League of Legends.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, that's fine for almost every member of the map here, except really for Guster Posey on this Volibear. Like we mentioned earlier, he does want to be on the map. He wants to be making aggressive ganks, but we've only really seen him make a roam happen into one gank in the top side, which didn't even end up netting like a flash or a teleport or anything. So the early game advantage, I think, really does start to go in favor of emotional damage, as Kobita's just going to drop the bear onto Messiah to get this wave shoved in, not looking for any sort of kill threat there, but the ult is on such a low cooldown. With the wave being stacked up like that, you can just drop it on Messiah, force them to stay under tower, and then look to just keep pushing in the waves, force out a teleport from the Ahri.
Yeah, that's kind of what our Annie gameplay is. You just kind of ult on cooldown to do a little chunk of health, just to say, hey, I have prio in this wave, or to try to, pop some of those health pots. Guster Posey's been down here for a hot minute, and they don't know that. In goes Tom Kench. Here we go.
Barolo looking for it. He's going to get hooked in. Flash forward from Guster Posey into the double flash away from the members of Rocketfellas bottom lane. They are going to get that piercing arrow onto Barolo off of those chains of corruption, but no extra summoners burned out of the Elysium side. It's just a flash from Guster Posey for 2, which you're feeling pretty happy for as a jungler.
Yeah, a good successful gank there for Volibear. Did lose a lot of tempo, so the Nocturne is going to get ahead a little bit on XP, probably about half a level worth of experience there. Yep, is now level 7 as opposed to Guster Posey's 6. As Guster did sit down in that bush there for about a minute, so spent a lot of time. The entire top side of the jungle is up. Blitzcrank, not going to land based on the mini-map.
I saw that for a frame. I got very excited that he might have actually found the Senna, but it is level 6 for the Senna and the TK, so it is going to be a little bit more difficult to get the hook on. I think this is when you start to aim for the Senna now to try and force out that ultimate from the Tom Kench, or if you think you have kill threat on the TK himself, you can look to hook him, but it is on hit there, so it's not any sort of poke, so they will have actually a decent amount of all in is in the bottom lane. There's the level 6 from Dilly, though. Maybe a bit too aggressive from Pandabot, as there's no level 6 available on this Blitzcrank. But meantime, on the top side, Victini Action's going to be the victim of a gank here. His first blood goes down to Dilly in the bottom side. Induce finds Victini. Sepro will manage to trade back in the bottom side, and Dilly now trying to trade with him auto emotional damage, trying to get in range. He is flying in to pick up the kill down onto Dilly. I don't think that Sepro needed the save, but his Nocturne, if you're going to burn that ulti, you want to get something out of it.
Yeah, you throw the ultimate just as the security blanket on top of the Senna. Sure, I mean, it's a good thing as well for Nocturne to get that early kill. Varus is doing just fine in this lane, up about 15 CS, so, but it's not like enough that you really want to look at this AD carry and say, yes, we want all the gold to go on to this Varus. There's not enough of a swing to justify that. So I think it's probably a good thing that the gold gets spread across two different, a bruiser and an AD carry, so that the Nocturne will be a bit more, a bit more powerful in those engages, and the Varus has a bit of power there added as well. So that's good stuff overall for emotional damage and Mr. Step Bro.
Yeah, I will say, though, with Nocturne showing on the bottom side and taking away some of these camps, Guster Posey did manage to stack up all 6 of those grubs, but Posey's actually on these Raptors, spotted out by Panda Boat, who has rotated up here to the top side. They might be looking for a punish on this Volley Bear as he finishes up this camp, but Messiah and Victina are in the area. Guster Posey with no flash, no Stormbreaker. This should just be one dead bear. Messiah will pick that one up for his first of the game.
Yep, another kill goes over, and this time it's the jungler kind of ganking themselves, going too far aggressively without, when you want to look for those Raptors and you're the jungler, you always want to take a peek at mid lane and you want to take a peek at bot lane, because you never know if the support is just going to be on a roam timer, the support is just, roaming around looking for some extra vision to help out with those top and mid lane to protect against ganks. And on top of that, if you don't have prio mid lane, the enemy mid laner just gets to you first. And we saw it right there. Ahri shows up and Annie is still stuck mid lane clearing out the wave. So Guster Posey, a bit of a macro misplay right there, not quite reading the map correctly, and gives over a kill to Messiah.
Yeah, now both of these teams are sort of posturing for this dragon on the bottom side of the map, though. Induced and Victini trading up here on the top side. Some nice cues from Induced up there, but you can see on the mini-map down here,
There's the ult.
Now the 1K, there's the steal from emotional damage. He gets in with the paranoia, snipes that one away with his smite. But now the fight is going to start to turn into Elysium Omen's favor as Guster Posey's in there with the Stormbreakers. 1 for 1 so far, but there's the second. Guster Posey finds a double kill. Messiah now the one in trouble. No stacks in that Spirit Rush left. A nice rune from Dilly. He's going to flash forward to shoot him down with the last auto attack. Elysium Omen, they lose the dragon, but they take the fight.
Yeah, that fight went really close both ways, but Kobita had a very nice ultimate there on the 2 that stunned people up for long enough that Guster Posey could just get back into the fight on this big old Arctic bear and just run it over.
Flashed on, he has that Eclipse shield, but it's not going to save him for very long. Induced, team that auto reset, goodbye. Maiden cannot save Yorick this time around.
And that's really good for Induced there on the top side as well, because Yorick was starting to really come online. We saw over and over again that Yorick was just shoving in bot towards that top tower, and Induced kept having to catch those waves. But it's very big here for the Yorick. For the Aatrox. Now 2 kills gone over to this Aatrox, one as a gank favor of Guster Posey, and the other one now a solo kill onto Victini, just not quite respecting that damage. And now Aatrox has bought that Profane Hydra, so there's going to be a lot of wave clear and a lot of damage that Victini needs to be, very aware of, because this Aatrox is quite ahead now.
Yeah, something we didn't particularly mention as we were loading in, because I honestly didn't really notice it until now, is Victini is on first strike onto this Yorick. Now, I haven't seen a ton of Yoriks recently, so I'm not 100% certain if this is currently the meta, but as you can see, the poke from the Yorick as he just lobs a little glob of goo over onto Guster Posey and takes out about a quarter of his health bar with the help of his minions. Yeah, you know what? I was a little bit worried for it beforehand, but now I'm starting to be convinced as Victini gonna get pulled back by those Umbral chains, but Induced can't get too much more damage. But now with, like you said, the Profane Hydra in inventory for Induced, it's going to be a lot more difficult for Victini to take these trades. And I think importantly, with that solo kill under tower, Induced does have those 6 grubs in his favor, thanks to Guster Posey, which means that he was able to get a lot of tower pressure down. He's already taken 3 plates away as Panda Boat doesn't find the hook. Oh, that's a tragedy. I feel that so bad. It hurts every time. They might actually be looking a little bit too aggressively here as they were looking to walk up, but with Guster Posey in the area, they're not going to play for it. But in the top side, though, emotional damage, making his name known up here with the fear down onto Induce, shutdown gold, will go over to the Nocturne. And so far, all of these ults have been very, very key. Good start for the Nocturne.
Yeah, emotional damage now 2 for 2 with those ultimates. Actually 3 for 3 because that middle one there was an ultimate to get in and steal that dragon away. So very nice early game for this Nocturne. Great ganks. I'm happy that the gold went over to the Nocturne as well, because Yorick doesn't really need the gold that much. Yeah, Aatrox has 2 kills, so you have to be careful as the Yorick, but at the same time, I think a large part of why Aatrox got that kill was because Yorick was just playing disrespectfully, now knows that this Aatrox does a lot of damage and can just sit back and
take the tower, actually, as that whole thing's gonna be on, and Induce will finish that teleport, and we'll start to trade with Victini, but this is a level 11 Yorick. That Maiden is going to start putting in a lot of work. There's even a red buff available for this Yorick. Induce is just dead. He pops that Whirl Ender, trying to get some trade back, trying to get some damage down onto Victini, but with Messiah here to support, there's no way Aatrox was taking anything this time around. And what looked like such a strong winning lane for the Aatrox has just been flipped on its head in favor of the Yorick. Meantime, bottom side, though, Dustin Posey trying to make his way down here onto the bottom lane. Flash and cleanse away from Step Brothers and teleport in from Messiah, looking to be a part of 2 fights at once here after that top side. Panda boat will get picked up, though, off the stuns and off the dive, as Kobita was down here as well with the bear. They will end up killing Tibbers off on the back end of that, but getting Tibbers for a support isn't exactly the trade of your dreams.
And they're still pushing topside. They're going to get another tower there, but yeah, shout out to Tibbers, because Tibbers tanked up that charm for Messiah. Otherwise, it would have landed onto Guster Posey. There's a good chance that you lose that, and they're looking for a dive here, though.
Maybe looking for a dive. They're going to pop that teleport from Kobita as he was looking to head up towards the top side to maybe support against this tower push, but with no Herald popped and no Herald charging, there's not going to be any pressure on that inhibitor turret. They are just going to use that teleport, take down this outer bottom lane turret, and get Elysium Omen's first turret of the game.
Just doing a quick check there on the Senna is up to just a shy of 50 stacks, so not the greatest stacking that we've seen, but it's pretty decent up there. So 60 stacks at 16 minutes is not anything to scoff at all. It's definitely a lot better than what we saw from Berserker a couple weeks ago and had like 60 stacks at 25 minutes or something ridiculous.
He's never going to live that down as Guster Posey in his own jungle might be a victim here as Barbolo's trying to jump into support. He's going to feast him up, get that shield down onto him, and it's Panda Boat actually, the one getting turned around on, abandoned by his team. And with that kill going over, it should just be the Dragon, as it looks like emotional damage with no paranoia. It's just going to recall. They're not even going to try and contest it. It's Elysium's first Dragon of the game. It's an individual chem tech. They're not feeling too stressed about this one.
Yep, you know, you take that, you get the Dragon, you get the pick, and now, you know, the Dragon stacking is canceled. The Senna is slowly starting to come online, getting closer and closer to that, like, 80 or 100 stack breaking point where she starts to really turn online, and then eventually 140 where it's just basically GG. Annie has the Malignance now in inventory as well, so she can just ult over and over and over again, not really concerned about cooldowns whatsoever at this point. And, you know, this Volibear is really spiking, but you have to be careful because Volibear, once you hit about 25 minutes, does fall off a cliff. So you need to be very proactive here and just keep putting in a lot of work here to make sure that you can actually get yourself a decent mid-game setup for this Aatrox, for this Senna, and for this Annie to continue to scale in this game. But also be very careful because Victini is trying to really put some pressure onto these side lane turrets.
Yeah, you can see Induce just by being in the presence of the Maiden, getting hit by a couple of globs there. Victini has taken out 2/3 of his health bar, and with it not being any sort of like Sundered Sky Bruiser build, Induce doesn't have a lot of defensive stats here. It really is just that Profane Hydra. So if Victini lands another one, this could just be the death of Induce, as he's going to get that dash and pop the World Ender actually. Look to try and trade. I think he's just trading his ult for ult here to kill off the Maiden. Now can maybe look to try and trade back onto Victini. He's going to force that flash out of the Yorick though, which is a pretty big cooldown. So next time someone shows up around this bottom lane, around the Yorick on the side lane, it could be a disaster for him.
It could be, but, you know, Yorick is closing in on that 2-item breakpoint as here comes Nocturne.
Nice charm from Messiah down onto Kobita. Still feared, still charmed, still stunned. Kobita, no counterplay allowed. Messiah picks that one up with the Spirit Rush in.
Emotional damage going to come flying through, and that's now another successful gank for this Nocturne. Hands the kill over to a now 4-kill Ahri, who is having a very good transition into the mid game. It's going to be very potent in these next upcoming fights, kind of around, if we have any, like, kind of peaks at Baron, and for the upcoming Dragon fight that is going to happen here in about 3 minutes. So Ahri in a very good spot has actually, interestingly, elected to go for the Horizon focused second. Not something we see too often.
Yeah, I was wondering if this is going to happen. There's been a couple of content creators recently who have been talking about Ari itemization, and one of the big things they mentioned is every single one of Ari's abilities, Ultimate included, can proc the Horizon Focus passive to get you that extra 10% increased damage. So it ends up being a very effective item on her overall, and I think in general the item is just very good as Panda Boat. Wants to find a hook here, picks up Barolo, but maybe not exactly the target he wants to hook down onto, as he's going to be forced to flash away. Chains of Corruption onto Guster Posey, but I don't think they can find much more aside from that. But now with this Herald in mid lane, they're going to get that charge into the tower, but without anybody extra inside the Herald charging, it won't find
Annie.
Now Kobita has that flash, drops the bear. He only finds the Son of the One, though. Nice spell shield from emotional damage. Now maybe turning around onto the Annie. Gets away from that fear thanks to a knockup from Barolo, but on the bottom side of the fight, Stepbro is just caught out. Dilly finds their third kill of the game, and it's just aggression on aggression from the Elysium Omen side.
Yeah, they stepped forward with the Blitzcrank trying to look for the hook. It lands onto the Tom Kench, but that's you're hooking a support that's very tanky. Has the Knight's Vow, has that Bomby Cinder there as well, and those plated steel caps, so very tanky. Tom Kench to be picking up there and has to actually flash away because the engage comes back through, and then Annie through the top side lands the ultimate onto one. It could have been more, but they all managed to get out of dodge in time. But man, Victini's putting on a lot of damage there on...
He's not dead, but the surreal grudge from this Yorick is just putting in the work. I was just about to mention, actually, while the fight was great for Elysium Omen, they managed to get one, they get that mid lane turret down a little bit further, they're doing a lot of work there, but these side lanes are just so nightmarish for them to deal with. How does anybody come to match this Yorick? We were talking in the draft about if Yorick gets far enough ahead, he can start to put pressure on the side lane, bring 2 or 3 people down for him, and that's the only way you can take care of him. He's in a good spot, and despite having no kills, he's sitting on a gold bounty, and he is bullying the hell out of this Aatrox anytime we pan down to him.
Yeah, the Yorick is very happy that all these fights and skirmishes are happening in mid lane because that means no fights are happening around him. So he gets to just continue to safely push out. You know where everybody is on the map. So you can just kind of shove these lanes hard into the tower again and again with no repercussions, as Annie had an angle there potentially, but gets spotted out by that ward. Yeah, but yeah, the Yorick can just kind of do whatever he wants now in the side lanes because you've gotten past that breakpoint. You now even have the opportunity item there to have that bonus lethality for when you go for those engages. So Yorick's going to hit like a truck at this point. Look at that damage.
Yeah, oh my god. The combination of 1 Q from Nocturne and 1 E from Yorick just took 2 people down to half HP. That just feels so gross, and I'm not 100% sure how Elysium Omen can fully play around this as their comp. While it's simple to execute on, is great in a 5v5, can take team fights really well, their silent management isn't the best if Induced is behind. And if you look at the items, it's 3 for Victini versus 1.5 for Induced, which means he's not going to be having a fun time versus this Yorick if they meet in the silent 1v1.
Yeah, Yorick definitely has the lead and is now trying to spread that lead over to get his team soul point. And we'll get to see how it works as emotional damage, clearing the ward out. It's going to throw down the ult key for some reason. I think that may have been a misclick.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a misclick or maybe just trying to dissuade the members of Elysium from looking for...
Meanwhile, Yorick...
For the ward, but in the meantime, mid lane, Guster was he tries to lose over the wall, but actually flubs it. He can't get over the wall. Now he's down to half HP because he got hit by Yorick. Dilly is as well. He's dying to the ghouls on the other side of your screen. In the meantime, Induced trying to chase down the members of Rocketfellas, but they're just kiting away the Surrealist Grudge from Yorick, activating and slowing everybody down. It's just a free tower in the mid lane. This is disgusting.
They took both towers there. Maybe the Nocturne ult was to keep them from seeing that they had all rotated mid and were just hard crashing for that tower and shoving the wave to get another one. So maybe it was just a big brain art key there by emotional damage, using it just for the vision control to get that mid lane prio they want. They secure 2 mid lane towers, rotate through topside, loop around with the Nocturne and pick up a dragon. They're on soul point now. They have 6 towers gone and Yorick is having an absolute field day on the map.
Yeah, and well, oftentimes we talk about how sort of ineffective the Chemtech Soul itself actually is. I think for a lot of cases, it's a lot stronger than people realize it is, and especially in this game with Yorick on the side lane sustaining off of his Q and being happy to be on lower HP, Ari with her own sustain, Varus going the on-hit build, which means he has lifesteal, has sustain in his build. it will be very difficult to actually take down the members of this Rocketfellas composition if they get to that. So suddenly when you're bringing 2 people down to this York at the side lane, you're going to have to put down 3, or else he might end up winning that 2 versus 1 thanks to the Maiden. And speaking of a 2 versus 1, Guster Posey is actually going to flash forward, trade flashes with Victini. Nocturne pops that Paranoia, I think just defensively to make sure that Victini can walk out, doesn't want to jump in to the 4 members of Elysium Omen. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. York can just sort of disengage from any play he wants to, and if you need to bring 3 members down, it's pretty easy to lose a side objective somewhere else on the map while he's doing that.
Yeah, York did have to blow the flash there, but I mean, you have 3 lethality items technically, and you're just so tanky, even as it is. You're sitting there with over close to 2,500 HP, only 25 minutes into the game, and you just have so much damage and sustain that it's really hard to kill off this man in the top lane from the Shadow Isles. So it's just a very difficult mid game to navigate here, playing around this York.
Yeah, playing around the York, I think, is actually explicitly easy for Rocketfellas as well, because they never have to pull the trigger and engage on anybody. It is fully on the members of Elysium Omen to try and make something happen, whether it's on the side lane or in the mid lane, whatever they choose to collapse on. They can get a man advantage in whatever play they opt to go for, as it is a 4-in-1 or 1-3-1 kind of split push composition for Rocketfellas. But if you leave the side lanes open for too long, or if you don't put adequate pressure in the mid lane, it's really easy to just start losing all of your towers. Like we have seen, Elysium Omen is down so many towers over the course of this game. They're stuck with just the ones that are in their base now.
Yeah, and if you're Rocketfellas, you really want to use this tower advantage, this 6-to-1 advantage, to start getting some pressure down into the enemy jungle, to start leeching some more of that gold away, which we're starting to see now finally. And so I'm hoping to see them really take advantage of this map objective, this map control that they have at their disposal to push forward safely like they can, and just, take those buffs away. I don't know why you're not taking more away, but they're going to go and collect mid lane. Nocturne should be going and taking more of those objectives away from the Volibear, though.
Yeah, I think they just don't see too many members of Elysium Omen currently. They don't know where the Volibear is. Senna and TK could be roaming around, as TK had just shown himself mid after they had rotated out. It's a fine line to be trimming here for Rocketfellas, because they have to play this published composition, as it is sort of easy to execute on for Elysium Omen to try and punish. It's not super easy for them to actually execute on to play for Rocketfellas, because if you overextend in the side lane, if your waves aren't matched up perfectly, if you're not communicating with your team exactly when you want to push a lane and how hard you want to go and what objective you're trying to play for, you can very easily get caught out on a side lane with no objectives up, with your team not ready to take anything, and just end up dying for nothing.
Yep, gotta be careful on those side lanes indeed. Meanwhile, just mid lane is just a kind of a wave clear farming simulator battle going on right there, where no one's hitting anybody, and that's okay. It's all about the side lanes this game.
I am a little surprised about some itemization choices here across the board. I think the Unending Despair for Guster Posey, when he's going for press the attack, is an interesting option. Normally, when you're seeing that item, it's paired up with the item CDR rune in the secondary, alongside something like Aftershock or Phase Rush, just to try and be more aggressive. But with the already the Sundered Sky inventory, I figured it was just going to be a very standard bruiser build. Like, he would go maybe like a Spirit Visage afterwards to try and just stay alive in the fight. And also for Dilly, this Lord Dominates Regard second item is a choice that I'm a little surprised by, is there's not a lot of HP stacking for the members of Rocketfellas. This Deuce is actually going to have to pop that World Ender in the side lane. I think he's just dead. Doesn't even need the Paranoia from emotional damage. Victini just solos him out. It's so gross. Guster Posey now may be in trouble, as he's going to be forced to ult over the wall. Barolo actually ults in. Nice Dawning Shadow onto Messiah, but the damage isn't too high. Kobiti here now looking for to drop the bear. They do find Panda Boat, but it's just onto the support. It's traded back for Barolo. Victini now on the side, forcing out Guster Posey, forcing him back into the fight, as he's looking to get aggressive on the step, bro. Bear is getting very, very low. It's Shutdown going over to Dilly on the back half of the fight. They found Victini, but it's traded back immediately as the Shutdown is back on to Guster Posey. Dilly trying to kite it out. He will trade 1-for-1. Now emotional damage, trying to get the damage out onto Kobita. Kobita forced to kite away in the 1 versus 2. Can he get enough cooldowns? Can he actually win this out? His kiting is good, and he manages to walk away, as Rocketfellas doesn't want to overextend for it, and they'll take the fight, win 4-for-3.
Yeah, it's probably a smart call there as well, because you can just rotate over. Never mind, Aatrox is going to be teleporting in to try to count this one off. It's gonna, ooh, that landed nice.
Induced does try to get aggressive with the spell shields and the charms. Besides, should just be able to walk out of here. They're actually going to try and turn it back around into the Aatrox. They know he's squishy. Force that ult and the dash out of the Aatrox. Make him stay away. But Messiah hunts him down over the wall. He saw the blast cone pop, so he knew exactly where that Aatrox was. And with that member down, no teleport available for Kobita either. This is probably just a free soul for Rocketfellas.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Guster Posey wants to try to contest this soul. Is not going to go instead and pick up some KFC just off screen. So Guster Posey elected to take those Raptors up there as the soul goes over to Rocketfellas. Or is it Rocketfellas? I keep forgetting.
Rocketfellas, yeah. And
it is Rocketfellas. Beautiful.
With the soul going over, the difficulty in the side lanes that we were talking about already, it's just gotten even more so as that extra damage reduction, as you can see on your screen, 11% when you're below 50% HP as Guster Posey actually wants to get aggressive here on to the Varus. They found him, they caught him out. Dilly finds that kill, teleporting from a side. They're going to look to trade back, but the charm goes very wide, does not find Barolo. He's got the flash away. Kobita drops Barry to absolutely nobody. He's got the Malignance, it's a low cooldown, but they'll take the pick onto Step Bro for free at the very least.
No, we've all heard of Care Bears, right? I call that an Air Bear. So we've got the Care Bears and the Air Bears, but they're gonna try to use this advantage they have here of the 4v5 to try to sneak this Baron away. I don't think they know. The emotional damage doesn't know.
Yeah, Victini and Induced on the bottom side in the meantime are just playing aggressive. Victini's actually going to flash onto the Aatrox. He's got enough healing, though, from the Conqueror and from those Q3s, as Victini is very, very low. Emotional damage pops that ulti, but I don't think they have vision of the pit just yet.
He's in
there! It's so low! It's stolen! Emotional damage gets it done again! And his team is going to win the fight as well! They found Kobita! Dilly manages to find it back. Guster Posey's so low. He gets that Thunder Skyrocket. He's left for a little longer, but Messiah shuts him down! Barolo versus the flash out of Panda Bow, but it's still a fight win for Rocketfellas. Dilly steps up too far. The Chains of Corruption land on him are going to force out the cleanse. Messiah comes in, snipes him down. Victini found Induced on the side lane. The game's just over. Rocketfellas take game one.
It went from 100 to 0 for Elysium. They were so primed to just turn this game around. They get the pick. They look for the Baron, and then all of a sudden, kabam! Baron stolen away. They lose the fight around the Baron. Yorick solos the Aatrox and just clears out the base. And it went from, we are turning this game around, we are closing this gold gap down to within 1,000 to a 10,000 gold difference, and the game over in a matter of 45 seconds.
Wow! Emotional damage. 2 steals in 1 game. Some incredible work from the Nocturne off of those paranoias. Hitting that Baron steal especially, I think, was so clutch, because even if the Yorick on the side lane, Victini, had won that 1 versus 1, had forced Aatrox out, with Baron empowered recalls, the members of Elysium Omen could get back in time, could defend their base, and could start that comeback. But with no Baron recalls, with the losing fight, with the extra Baron stats that emotional damage got for them, they couldn't win the fight. Victini wins on the side lane, gets the 1v1, and just wrecks shop in the base.
Yeah, and just take a look at some of those numbers there in the post-game scoreboard there. Yorick had 3,500 gold more than anyone else in the game, and did 10,000 gold more than anyone else in the game. 10,000 damage, rather, more than anyone else in the game. Did, what was that? What would that be? 13,000 more damage than anyone on the team, their side for Elysium. So that Yorick absolutely ran that game, and I am begging you, if you are a coaching staff in Elysium, ban Yorick for game 2.
The counter pick for the Rocketfellas top laner Victini is something that they're gonna have to watch out for, as he just showed why he's one of the better top laners in this league. And I mean, his scoreline doesn't look that impressive at 2, 3, and 5, but you see his damage, you see the gold he generated, you see his damage to objectives, and he's performing excellently. Rocketfellas make the upset happen in game 1. They're taking us to a potential 2-0 potentially in their favor to upset Elysium Omen. We're going to take a short break while we get that draft ready for game 2, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Titan League action.
there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself, there's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. It might take some time, but I'll be alright. I'm moving on, moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. Moving on, moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. Some days there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself, there's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. It might take some time, but I'll be alright. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on.
Talking to myself and I can't focus. Yeah, I'm broken. The door is closing. Wanna be a part of something more than this. I've lost control of it. Oh, seeing the stars reminds me of you. Oh, oh, oh. You left me with scars, but I know that one day you'll see it through. You see it through. You see it through. You see it through. You see it, see distant shore of it. Oh, seeing the stars reminds me of you. Oh, oh, oh. You left me with scars, but I know that one day you'll see it through. You see it through. You see it through. Eh. You see it through. You see it through. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife. We gonna live forever, forever. The
A pair of jeans, a shirt or two. We didn't pack as if we weren't going back. It doesn't matter if it's true. I've got a feeling love will give us what we lack. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. Yeah. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights. Tomorrow feels a year away, like the seconds, the beginning and the end. But if in time it's yesterday, your picture's gonna bring it home to me again. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here for game 2 of Rocketfellas Equinox versus Elysium Omen after what was a shocking end to what game 1 Rocketfellas are up 1-0 and are looking to potentially close out a 2-0 series versus the third seeded Elysium Omen, which would be a pretty big shock this time around. I'm still What's It Pretty, that's still Sharpie, and we're here in the draft.
I am indeed still a permanent marker that leaves marks on the walls if you have a toddler. But we're hopping into draft. We've got some fun bans here. The Smolder, of course, on red side, gonna go away. Zach and Tarek gonna go away, and they're gonna ban the Nocturne.
No more Nocturne.
So they think the Nocturne was the problem, which, to be fair, emotional damage stole two large objectives away, that Dragon and then that Baron. So, you know, big stuff there for emotional damage there. And his Nocturne's going to get taken away, so we'll have to see what he wants to go for instead. As we get into draft, Malachi and Karma are going to be the last ones away. Let's see what the first pick is in on blue side this time for Rocketfellas.
Yeah, the Tarek ban, I'm actually a little surprised by it, to see it on blue side so aggressively banned away. Normally that's something you'd see as like a player's pocket pick banned away in the second round, maybe if you really dip deep into that support pool, but Rocketfellas putting some respect down onto it and are gonna take away the Varus this time around. Grab that one for themselves again in the bottom side. Sort of daring Elysium Moment to grab that Senna bottom lane again, but this time around it's actually a Misfortune lock-in. Okay.
So we got to be careful here. Misfortune can go AD carry, Misfortune can go support. So it could go either way here, as emotional damage is going to lock in another engaging jungler with the Jarvan. But yeah, Misfortune is kind of in a weird spot. She had her time in the sun with that support build, and now she's kind of in a weird, am I an AD carry? Am I a support? Does anyone really know what's going on at Riot? I don't know.
I mean, whatever you see her in ARM is always either lethality or it's AP, so we'll see which way Dilly goes this time around.
I'm gonna speak on that really quick. I'm gonna pull up my LP.GG because I had a Misfortune game, and I gotta tell you about this build where I was cooking, because we're just talking about bans and nobody really cares about bans. We're about the picks. So let me tell you about this Misfortune build that I threw down. I went Blade of the Ruined King, into Terminus, into Ravenous Hydra, Maw of Malmortius, and Wit's End. It was a pure on-hit Misfortune build, and I went 21-10, and I did, let me pull up the actual number here. I went 21, 10, and 31, and I did 54,000 damage in a 21-minute game. So, wow. It worked, and it was really fun because, yeah, you just kind of just auto attack to death, and that's all you really do.
I mean, Misfortune W is a hell of a strong drug, but
it is.
Coming into the second round of bans, Rocketfellas and Elysium both going to be taking away some of those mid lane picks again. The Orion, Nico, and Ahri all going to be meeting the ban phase. Not too shocking to see Elysium take away the Ahri as well. We didn't get to talk about it very much, but Messiah on that Ahri, like you mentioned in the break, quietly 8-1 over the course of that game, as it wasn't really Messiah's game to win. A lot of the talking was about emotional damage and Victini on the side lane, and Messiah was just happily carrying team fights, as this Misfortune is going to be combined with the Leona in the bottom side, so they will have a Misfortune in the AD carry role this time around. We'll see if Dilly is willing to cook as much as you. But Rocketfellas are going to grab away the Leah and the Braum, actually. And I'm curious to see whether it's going to be Trundle or Jarvan in the jungle, and which one of those two is going to go into the top side. As if it's Victini doing split push again, I have to assume he would want the Trundle, right?
And it's the same thing for Elysium. Is it going to be the Gragas or the Volibear top lane? It could go either way as well. So it's kind of a game of cat and mouse for which matchup they want and which matchup they expect the enemy to take, as the Corki is going to be, the last pick. I like the Braum here. It counters the Misfortune so well, and it also actually counters the Corki pretty well as well, because you can just block those missile barrages that come flying out of that little Rafflecopter that Corki has built for himself.
Yeah, and Corki has been subject to a couple of nerfs here and there. His Eclipse interaction with Malignance got removed, so you can't just build those two items in one shot in AD carry anymore. You do actually have to hit 2 spells to proc the Eclipse percentage health damage. And being a strong professional play mid laner means that you're always going to be targeted with a couple of nerfs. So Corki on the weaker side. Talia has actually been rising in priority a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw her maybe hit the change list soon enough. But I have to say, don't really know how to feel about either of these drafts. Elysium has what feels like a very much a go all in aggressive composition with a quirky package on top of all of it just for some extra flavor. And Rocketfellas again have a decent side lane with the Trundle if it does go towards Victini in the top side, but otherwise they have just a good team fight composition with the Talia and the Jarvan combination. It's if they can lock down Misfortune without a flash, that's just a dead 80 carry.
Oh, we are. What's going on here? I popped into the lobby here to pause for it, and it looks like they remade because there was a bug with the runes.
Yeah, potentially a bug with the runes. It's the Riot client, something will always happen, but the client being remade is going to give us a little bit of extra time to talk about our sponsor for tonight, ProComps, a game-changer app in the League of Legends community. It's not just like any other tool, it's your personal draft coach. It's perfect for both teams and solo players. In fact, you can even pair with any other app you use. ProComps stands out with features like custom champion pools, personalized tier lists, and live draft advice. You can think about it like having a virtual coach and a strategy toolkit all wrapped up into one. They offer for real-time champ and ban recommendations, and they already have over 200,000 downloads with thousands of daily users just like you. ProComps is user-friendly and is totally free. It's a no-brainer to at least give it a go, so you can download ProComps now, and you'll experience a whole new level of drafting power in your League games. To download it, you can go to procomps.gg and download it from Overwolf, or click the panel located below our stream.
There we go. So get ProComps for yourself, and what the teams are going to do is get a new lobby built. So we'll see what the plan is here. I'm just waiting to hear back from production so that I can get into the lobby as well. But they did, per the all chat, agree to rebuild it because Gragas's runes got swapped by the client, and it could be that he was trying to change them last minute and the change did not go through. So I've had that happen to me once or twice in ranked, and then in those tournament realms, those kind of more custom arenas, it tends to get even more finicky.
Yeah, the Riot client always
see.
has issues here and there. The Spectator client is normally the one being targeted by those issues. I remember a couple of weeks ago, probably close to a month ago now, we were having to work off of just replay files entirely because the Spectator client just would not work with live games. It was a total nightmare.
It was. It was very fun when those lobbies would crash and we sat here for an hour trying to figure out what's going to happen. And then all the games were starting late for the stream because we had to let the teams play and then wait for the replay file. And, shout out Riot Games, small indie company. They're doing their best.
Well, I mean, at least eventually they got it fixed and we're back on to actual live games now. The draft is going to be taking a little bit to finish up as the client to spectator delay is going to have to go through. Have you seen any good movies recently? I just recently saw Dune 2, actually, and that was a hell of an experience.
I have been waiting to go see it. I've just been so busy, but Dune 2 is definitely on my list. I loved the first one. The cinematography of it, everything was filmed so beautifully, and the music was phenomenal. And they did a great job. It was a little bit slow paced for what a lot of people do like these days. But for me, I really like that slower pace where you allow the world to get built, where you have proper world building tools. But outside of that, I haven't really watched too much. I recently watched Silo, which is a great show on Apple TV, and I highly recommend that one. It was so much fun to watch. Very interesting kind of post-apocalyptic show.
Exciting. I'll have to put it on my radar. In terms of movies that are not very slow and don't set up a lot of world building, I saw Godzilla vs. Kong in preparation to go and see Godzilla and Kong later in the year. I think it's coming out the end of this month, if I remember right, about 28th. Great movie. It's a lot of fun if you just want to watch two giant monsters beat the hell out of each other, and sometimes that's just all the entertainment you need.
I really hope that Riot takes notes of how popular Godzilla vs. Kong is and says, you know what, we've got this Skarner rework. Skarner's really big, and you know who else is really big? Rek'Sai. And we see Godzilla vs. Kong, and we see instead Skarner versus Rek'Sai. That would just be fun, would it not? Just to see these gargantuan beasts.
Rek'Sai and Urzai get pushed out of the desert and forced into the jungles of Ishtal, where Skarner, sensing the threat coming in, is forced to defend his tribe from them. I could see that becoming a really cool short story.
Or maybe they team up and they beat up on Belveth. I could see that happening.
I mean, I guess you would have to ask Rek'Sai what her political affiliations are in regards to how she feels about Belveth, although I don't know how much of an answer you'll get aside from just screeches and clicks.
I think Rek'Sai's political affiliations are get out of my. It's not get out of my swamp. It's get out of my sand. You know.
Get out of my
Outside
desert.
of that, I think Rek'Sai and Shrek would be really good friends. They kind of have similar ideas of like, hey, just leave me alone. I'm here to do me. I'm here to just like. Shrek just wants to hang out in the mud, and Rek'Sai just wants to burrow through the sand, and like on some back in 4th grade playing in the sand pit, just kind of, or not 4th grade, like when you're 4 years old playing in the sand pit, your toes in the sand and the little sand digger that you had that you would sit on and dig little holes in, and
Right.
that's just kind of what Rek'Sai wants to do. And then all these people like Talia, which we have here in the mid lane for Messiah, want to come disrupting all the rocks and throwing pebbles all over the place, and over here like, throw another rock. No, how about we burrow and knock you into the sand and say, get out of my sand? So Talia needs to know her place. But anyways,
No, her place might be a bit much, but coming back to League of Legends, I am a little surprised actually that we haven't been seeing a lot of Rek'Sai recently. I know her most recent pseudo rework was not the greatest in terms of power level, but she's recently been getting a lot of buffs, and I know a lot of people have been cooking up and theory crafting potential Rek'Sai top builds maybe to start seeing her in play again.
let me speak on this. I
Okay.
am a Rek'Sai one trick, and I have been playing for the past few years. My alternate account is literally Rek'Sai mid. So I was one of those full lethality Rek'Sai mid players, and then Prowler's Claw got killed, and then lethality Rek'Sai got killed. Yeah, my camera's off, but big middle finger to you, freak, for doing that. But because I loved playing lethality Rek'Sai, and now that is just dead. But either way, there are some really spicy builds for Rek'Sai now. I think Rek'Sai is actually best top lane and, believe it or not, support. Rek'Sai support is very good. But yeah, for the top lane, you want to go Grasp of the There's two different strategies you can go based on the matchup. You either want to go for this kind of. There's a really interesting build that I've cooked up where you go Tiamat into whatever boots you want into a defensive item, either like Wit's End or what is that item? The Frozen Heart, and then into Blade of the Ruined King, and then into Stride Breaker. So there's no, Frozen Heart is better. I've done the math on it. It is just better. For AD matchups, then for AP matchups, you want to go Wit's End. Or there's this really weird tank build and that's if you go Conqueror. Or there's this weird tank build where you go Grasp of the Undying and you rush Warmogs into Sunfire Cape. And that is a really spicy build that you can do as well. So a lot of fun things that you can do with Rek'Sai top lane. With the support, you do kind of want to go rush quickly towards a Stride Breaker, which is just going to be really good for your overall. You're not too concerned about clearing the waves. It's the AD carry's job. You rush Stride Breaker, and your job is to go for quick engages because your tunnel is a lot faster to get onto enemies. And then if you don't have good opportunities for bot lane, like if you're against an Ezreal or some nonsense like that, you want to be using that passive speed you get while burrowed and be roaming across the map looking for dives with the jungler, because you can dive. You can tank a few turret shots, hit the R key, and you reset turret aggro just like that.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna have to start cooking up a potential Rek'Sai support. I've been looking for some new supports to try out recently. Pyke has been getting back on my radar. I kind of missed my little Bilgewater murderer. The Rek'Sai might be one to put on the list as well. I wonder if you could do some sort of fasting lane with Senna as well, where you have that strike.
Oh, you can. I've done it.
Focused on the wave clear. We are just waiting a couple more minutes to get ourselves loaded on into Summoners, to get ourselves in game. We're in the loading screen now. I'm curious, now that we know for certain that it is going to be the Volibear in the jungle and the Gragas top, as well as the Trundle top and the Jarvan jungle, how do you think that top lane matchup is going to go?
Boy, hard to say. Gragas definitely wins out early in my opinion, but it is difficult because it is very much a skill matchup. Gragas has the range, but if Trundle can get in and just kind of thump away and use that pillar, like Gragas, you basically want to kind of play defensive. You never want to use your dash to go forward unless you've basically guaranteed a kill, because otherwise Trundle is just going to pillar you off, hit that W key and hit that Q key and just out trade you. As they're doing a fun little dive top side here. Very interesting kind of strategy here indeed to play around the Brahmin. Induced is not positioning correctly. Is not going to see
I love
this.
this pathing. He does get spotted out by the ward, but immediately flashes away. Does not want to get that Braum passive stacked up onto him. You saw the members of Elysium Omen wrapping fully around the vision pocket there, making sure they didn't get spotted until they could pounce onto Induced. And losing Flash and Orpheus Gragas, especially versus this Trundle, could be disastrous.
Yep, so much for Induced having some early game ability to push the waves out decently. Now all prio is going to go over to this Trundle because no flash for the Gragas. So Trundle can just kind of play a bit more aggressively in the lane, posture a bit more forward in the wave. And, you know, Gragas is still going to have just higher base damages, I'm pretty sure. But Trundle can feel a lot more comfortable now.
Yeah, good start for the members of Rocketfellas there on the top side. I'm interested to see what Elysium can do to sort of counteract that, as it will be a leashless start for both of these junglers, but not on their Raptors, actually on their blue buff, as the members of Rocketfellas did get that early ward down onto the Raptors, so they should be able to spot out Guster Posey as he rotates over to that. This red buff, unless he does some weird crazy pathing where he just goes around the Raptor camp entirely, does another 3 camp to look for a lane gank. Although with a Leona misfortune on the bottom side, it's definitely doable.
It is doable as Jarvan is doing that 1 camp into top lane kind of hover here. But the wave really isn't in a good state. Here we go!
Yeah, if Victini can get that slowdown, Induce could potentially be in trouble. Emotional damage has that flag and try. He's gonna get that knockup flash forward from Victini as well. Smacks him down. Lethal tempo is in fact lethal. First blood for Victini.
This is not good at all for RFE. Wait, are they swapped? Because
yeah, Rocketfellas,
they are
the overlay is lying to you a little bit. Rocketfellas is on the blue side and Elysium is on the red.
yeah, we'll get that swap there really quick. Production is very busy because we have some new stuff in the background that we're trying to implement. That's why the cameras aren't working. Some things weren't quite correct, but there's a lot of new things to keep track of. So no harm, no foul. But Victini was the win condition in game 1, and now Victini giving that first blood, and Guster Posey looking for a gank, and it doesn't work out either. So this is very problematic now for Elysium because Victini won it out in game 1 and is on another split pusher with that Trundle, and you've got that lead with that first blood. You got to be real careful because Victini could easily just run away with another one here.
Yeah, this is a nightmare scenario, I think, for Elysium Omen, and especially with Guster Posey running up their top lane, using his flash in that gank. We didn't catch it on camera, but you can see it on cooldown, and not getting anything out of Victini. Massive loss. Not even burning the teleport from the Trundle, as the wave is in a good enough spot that he doesn't really have to waste any time to get back up there, as there's a potential jungle invade here, as we can see emotional damage looking around for the buffs of Guster Posey, but with the level lead, he will just be able to secure his blue buff and force the Jarvan to walk away.
Shout out to Kobita in the mid lane for picking that UFO Corki skin. It's always fun to see that one.
I feel like I never
wanted to shout that out. Yeah, it's a super rare one that was only very briefly enabled, and it's been like unavailable in the shop, so you can really only get it as like a random skin at this point, unless you literally got it a long time ago. So there are very few players who legitimately own that skin. They've all gotten it through like the mystery gift, or not the mystery gift, either mystery gift as we see it died. Never mind.
Forward from Barolo, burns that cleanse away from Step Bro. He did burn his ignite, so that's a 2-for-1 on the cleanse. Emotional damage down to the backline. It's 3v3 here in the bottom side. Emotional damage forced to flash away. Dilly just getting those auto attacks down into Panda Boat. Gonna get that stun down Barolo. They're looking for some extra damage. I don't think they can look for a dive. In this case, emotional damage doesn't get hit by the lightning strike. Guster Posey losing a lot of his HP right there. His producing arrow doesn't find its mark. They do manage to walk away from that one as Induced. Hang on, he does have a 2-level lead on Victini right now, but Victini has that lethal tempo stacked up. Very dangerous for that Gragas, as even despite the lead, Victini getting the win out on that trade.
Yeah, this Trundle is just gonna be problematic. Especially when, I mean, the Gragas has done a very nice job, had that freeze up there early and was able to soak up a lot of minions away from Victini, but is going to catch that wave, which means, you know, that's a good chunk of minions there that this Trundle is hopefully going to be able to catch up with. But we'll have to see if he can capture all of them, but Trundle should pretty much even that up within about, I'd say, within about 8 CS, as he did kind of step forward there to do some shenanigans.
He's looking to hold this wave here. This is really smart. You can already see Panda Boat also roaming up to this top side to look to get a punish off of this freeze. The team is just holding this wave right here. There is the ward available for Induced. And Guster Posey might actually have to walk up here to potentially break it, but there's the engage on to Induced. He is level 6 on this Gragas, so they're not going to be able to go too much farther, even with no mana on him. But with Guster Posey here to defend and Barolo also roaming up, no kills go over. It is the recall out from Induced and no teleport for this Gragas, so going for this objective might be dangerous. Guster Posey, though, wants to get in, forces the flash out of Messiah. And I think with no flash on the Talia, they're going to be forced to give up these grubs. Elysium Omen should just be able to grab these. I say should. They're a little bit nervous about getting it, as Panda Boat is still up here. Victini is still dangerous on that Trundle.
That was a nice flash by Messiah. I don't know if you had vision on Barolo, but that Leona Q was not Q. The E was just a millimeter away from landing as emotional damage. They are actually going for these Krugs, and they're going to take the first one.
Yeah,
the grubs, not the Krugs. You guys know what I'm talking about.
They really needed a different name for their grubs. As much as I love saying grubbies, it's just too similar to Krugs, and it feels so awkward to say if they're trying to go for grubs or Krugs. But even with one denied, it is a pretty small win for Rocketfellas. Denying away a potential 6 from Elysium Omen could be very, very important for them. As we saw in Game 1, Elysium Omen did get all 6 of those, and it did help Induced stabilize some of that early top lane. And while Victini did end up winning out over time, it would have been a lot faster and a lot harder had those grubs not gone over.
Mm-hmm. They do secure the one, though, so that they only have to get one more. And on the flip side, Elysium does not have to worry about those grubbings anymore. I've heard it posed that people have said, what if we just called them Kevins?
I've heard Ed and Eddie. I've heard the Kanker sisters for the second one, if you know the lore of the Ed and Eddie show.
There we go. Trundle does have that TMS, so it's now actually going to be able to push the wave pretty quickly. That's good for Trundle.
I do think one thing about the Trundle in this particular top lane matchup is kind of sneakily his sustain off of his passive. So even with the poke coming through from Gragas, him getting some extra grass procs in the trades, Trundle can sort of just shake it off by continuing to farm minions and keep getting that, I'm trying to remember, I think it's called Tribute passive, just getting some extra HP based off the minions that die around him.
The Gragas or the Trundle? The Trundle, let me...
The Trundle
King's Tribute. When an enemy dies near Trundle, he restores 3.1%. Was that max or current health? Of its max health.
I believe it's of the thing that died's max health. So
it's
higher health
max
thing that dies around you, the more sustain you get. So cannon minions really are big for Trundle alongside those jungle creeps, which is usually how Trundle can sustain himself in the jungle. But in a lane, very sneakily and very slowly, it just keeps Trundle alive through poke. So Induced, even with Gragas having some extra AP in his inventory with that blasting wand, as long as Trundle is just continuing to kill minions, it's going to be very hard to force him out of this lane.
It is, because he's like, you can just kind of see there the little bits of chunk. Look at that, 56 there from that one cannon minion, so that's pretty solid sustain there. But Gragas has a lot of sustain there as well. Hits W, gains 94 health. Gameplay, everybody in the top lane. Welcome to League of Nobody Dies.
Yeah, sustain is the name of the game. I'm normally a bigger fan of the tank Gragas build, and we'll see if Induced is going to opt for like Roa plus tank, or if just he's going to go Roa into full AP. But for now, it is just sort of sustain battle up there at the top side. And I think overall, Victini probably happy to continue to take that one, as he's happy to just farm away and continue to move up his lead after getting that first kill.
Yeah, Victini has kind of neutralized the CS there a little bit as Induced. That's a nice trade there. Gotta be careful here. The ult is gonna come out. Here we go.
It's the bait. Guster Posey is here, level 6, onto that volley. They're gonna smack him down. The lightning comes down, but not even needed. Great bait from Induced. Nice gank from Guster.
Yep, Guster kind of comes up after picking up some Krugs and say, "How about okay? We've taken some little like stone beings away. Let's kill someone who has an ice club." More and Messiah.
Caught out here on the red buff, actually. Doesn't get the snapback onto Guster Posey. Finally gets it, but no stun. Stormbreaker! Guster Posey smites down the non-believers on mid lane.
There goes, Rek'Sai is happy now because the Sands are safe. Talia is dead. And Rek'Sai can now continue burrowing in peace in another map because Rek'Sai is not here. She is still in Shurima where she belongs. So... well, technically, she probably belongs in the Void.
Well, yeah, but a lot of the void creatures came through into Shurima, but now we're getting too much into the lores. Emotional damage is going to be forced to cover here in the mid lane. We've seen a lot of action around the top side, and I'm honestly a little surprised that we haven't seen Guster Posey more in the bottom lane, as Copita is just going to get a nice little Valkyrie away there mid lane. With the Exhaust Ignite on this Misfortune and Leona, I thought for sure they would be trying to play much more aggressively to this bottom side, try and punish this Varus pick. And while Misfortune being up 10 CS is nice, the on-hit Varus is going to scale much better than Misfortune will, especially with the lethality build. So I was hoping to see Elysium be a bit more aggressive and try and force this Varus down, but if he's able to just farm out and free hit and fights again, this could be very big trouble for the members of Elysium, as they're going to look to pick up the second grub at the very least. It looks like they're just going to peel away from it. They don't want to force anything more, but Denial of the 5 means no Void Mites in this game, and a lot less power from the grubs this time around.
Yep. So they got the 2 threshold, so they don't care that Gragas burps his way into the Kevin pit, the Ed, Ed and Eddie little
Well, these ones are the
inverse peninsula.
Induced actually maybe looking for an engagement.
Messiah's
Nice
doing some
flip
damage.
over the wall into Barolo. Flipped back by Victini on the Trundle. Gonna be kited away though. Guster Posey keeps him alive for a little bit longer, but Victini with the Trundle is gonna knock him down. Guster Posey flashed over the wall with the exhaust on him. Gobita now stuck. Gonna be forced to flash out of the Cataclysm as well. Members of Elysium on the run. Oh, nice interrupt on the Valkyrie. Snaps back, pulled back by Messiah. Gonna get some revenge for that gank from Guster Posey in mid and pick himself up his first kill.
Victini needs to be careful. I mean, he does have a little bit of sustain with that Vamp Scepter, but Induced just does a lot of damage here. Ooh,
Oh,
flashes.
nice flash away from the belly bop. Oh, Bomba Induced picks him up with the ulti into the barrel combo. Nicely played by
Bomba.
Gragas.
That's a certified bomba moment right there.
Yeah, it's always good to see a Gragas who knows how to line up that angle properly. I will say it's actually fairly tough with the delay on the ultimate and getting that Q angle just right, as there might be engaged in the bottom side. Its emotional damage is going to look to just clear out this wave in top lane. Gilly does sniff out the potential danger, doesn't manage to get caught by those chains of corruption bottom lane, so he will just be able to walk away from that one. But for now, it is Elysium Omen fighting back fairly evenly. I was a little worried after game 1, because that was a pretty morally crushing way to lose a game, but it seems like mentally they've stayed in it. They're managing their objectives well, they're taking good fights, they've got a lead in their jungle, and they're continuing to press the advantage by looking for this bottom side Drake as well.
Yep, they are going to take a dragon here. Gragas going to be teleporting topside to catch that wave that's crashing there, but there's going to be nothing really for them to take with that pressure topside. Jarvan just reset, second dragon going over to Elysium, and despite the big lead that Trundle was handed on a silver platter at like 3 minutes into the game, this has completely flipped and neutralized, and it is actually Gragas who has about a 50 gold lead for himself. So the fat burping man is ahead.
50 whole gold. The top lane's just over. I mean, you might as well call it for Induced.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to scale fairly well with that Roa in inventory. He won't have as much combat power now as much as Victini does with that Ravenous Hydra. As you can see him actually being a little bit of a fiend here on this Trundle, trying to steal away some of those camps from Guster Posey. But the Gragas will scale a little bit better with that Roa. He'll be able to stack up some extra value out of that item, look for his second item where he's really going to start to get stronger. And with 14 minutes falling off, there wasn't a lot of plate action either across the board. I was a little surprised to see Victini not really able to hit this topside tower very much.
You can't really, though, because Guster Posey's just been up there. Guster, he set up a little tent, a shack, a cooking station, and a hospital up there in the top lane just to make sure that this Gragas can stay alive. Gragas, of course, running the tavern there for the little survival camp, little town that they've set up there together as a little duo. But, yeah, just very difficult for Trundle to do much of anything. Of course, as the game progresses, Gragas is going to try to play around the team a bit more, and same with this Volibear, so Trundle's going to be a bit more happy to split push. I expect him to be pushing more bot side at some point as the objectives start to switch around. But yeah, we'll see what goes on here. They're just going to kind of say hello in that bush, and that'll be about that.
Yeah, Dude's happy to just continue trading there in the top side, but in the meantime, in this Rift Herald, it should just be pretty much free for Elysium Omen. I don't think there's any way that Emotional Damage can really get into this pit. We see Barola doing a great job of just making sure Jarvan is zoned away. All the members of Elysium are here, and it's not exactly an objective that I think is worth giving your life to try and steal anymore. The power level of Rift Herald really has been taken down, even with some of the more positive changes going towards it, as it doesn't really get used to take plates anymore, so you lose a lot of that extra gold value. It's just not the same as it used to be.
Trundle is not where he should be.
Wait, hang on. This is not his side of the map. He's going to take a couple of extra tower shots, as I don't think he expected the tower to be able to hit him from that far away. I like the attempt at the proxy, but it is shut down by Kobita.
You can't be proxying right there when you just seeded all of your prio over for the scuttle. You know exactly where they are. As Emotional Damage has to flash over.
Yeah, there's the Stormbreaker in from Guster Posey. He's looking for some damage onto Messiah. The Sky Splitter as well. Bites him down, smacks him across the mouth. Guster Posey finds that kill. Another bullet time over the top. Tilly just gets in the dash through it. Somehow Guster Posey picks that one up, probably with a red buff. And it's a 4-0 volley there with a Rift Herald in his pocket. I think they're just going to look to crack open mid lane here.
Cracking open mid lane is definitely the play. It allows the Corki to kind of get out of this lane against the Talia, and Talia really wants to have prio in the lane to roam around and get those, those roam picks picked off, but Messiah just has not been nearly as effective of getting out of this lane. Corki holding his own quite well, has that Malignance as they're looking for a second charge, and it will complete, so... Careful, Talia.
Very dangerous for Messiah. Yeah, he's going to be forced to just quickly move away. Doesn't get to clear up as much of that wave as he wants to, so lots of damage down on to that objective. But in the meantime, top lane and bottom lane, those side lanes again for Elysium Omen starting to suffer as the top lane turret did fall for Victini, and now Step Bro and Panda Boat on the bottom side get their own tower as well.
Yeah, and mid is getting pretty low as well, so if you do get, Kobita backing at the wrong time, or you can get a nice crash going for yourself, there's a good chance that you can take that mid tower as well, which would put you even further... Well, actually, why? They did not get that inner tower, did they? Yeah, it's sitting there on about 300 health. So they do have a turret lead already.
Yeah, next one will be able to pick it up, but for now it is just the one tower for Elysium Omen for 2 for Rocketfellas, and I'm a little worried because that's reminiscent of what we saw in Game 1, where Elysium Omen was able to take good fights, was able to win off in the actual 5 versus 5s, but Victini, I think you are once again caught in the side lane. He's going to use that ulti on top of Guster Posey to get some extra stats out of the volley there, but I don't think he will be living from this one. Sustained be damned, Induced has enough damage.
Yeah, the sustained from Ravenous Hydra is not anything to exactly be mocked at, but at the same time, it's just kind of one of those slow burns that gives you health, not something that will really sustain you, as they might have caught Guster Posey here.
Sure, he might not actually be caught as the package in from Kobita, looking to support his jungler. Step Bro is just blown up! Picked up and deleted. Panda Boat now forced to flash away that Glacial Fissure, putting in a lot of work, but one extra rocket from Kobita as he flashes forward to secure it. Will be another team fight win for Elysium Omen, who are looking to strike back hard in this game too.
And strike back they are so far. This Volibear Guster Posey said, I saw your we are having some interesting, little things going on here. Seeing in the chat, the support says has PC issues. That's Panda Boat.
Alright, did Panda Boat spill a drink on his keyboard, or do you think it's like some actual PC issues? What are we expecting here?
I'm guessing Rek'Sai is mad at Panda Boat for having a tower in the game and has burrowed over to Panda Boat's place of residence and attempted a knock up, and they're gonna write it off. The weather people are gonna write it off as a earthquake, a strange earthquake due to some. They're gonna say some tectonic. I think the term we're looking for here is when a tectonic plate shifts underneath another one is subduction. So they're gonna call it subduction, but actually it's just Rek'Sai upset and trying to chase down Talia, accidentally hit the Braum instead. But that's okay. We're back into the game.
Yeah, thankfully not too long of a pause. There'll be a little bit of delay on your screen in a couple of seconds here as the delay timer check gets back up to 3 minutes, and it's at a perfect time. As you can see, Emotional Damage trying to get into the pit. That dragon is so low. Is he going to be able to actually get in for the steal? I'm so excited for this. I cannot wait.
This is your chance in chat to let us know if Emotional Damage can steal the third one away.
I don't know if he'll go for it. He's going to be able to do it if he wants to. He's in there. He gets the steal. again! Emotional damage! Doing emotional damage to Guster Posey for a third objective in the series. He gives his life, but in all chat, he's typing #work.
Yeah, you better be all chatting like your APA in that matchup against whoever they were playing against, where he would not shut up and all chat. But you got to give him props here. Emotional damage now 3 for 3 on those smite steals, just really popping off, saying, hey, guess what? You can do all these kills and stuff like that, but I can do the real gameplay. I can go into the Baron pit and I can press the smite button better than you can. So play to emotional damage. That's 3 objectives now stolen away.
Yeah, some very important steals, as well as in the previous game, it was the Baron that ended up winning them the game on that second steal. And in this one, denying soul point from Elysium Omen, buying Rocketfellas at least 5 more minutes of scaling time, 5 more minutes to farm up, to get Trundle more powerful in the side lane, to get Jarvan to that second item, to get Varus to that second item. Very big deal for the members of Rocketfellas. And again, just emotional damage coming out on top in the jungle.
Yeah, emotional damage has just been having a really nice, smite button game, just hitting that button really well. And that's about all he can really say, because, that's what he's done. He's hit smite just better. He did get that level 2 gank up topside as well, which set up Victini for success. Whether that is true.
Victini was able to knock down that setup is a totally different question entirely, but he did set up his top laner for success, which as a jungler is pretty much all you can ask for out of a laner.
Yeah, but, as someone who has played a lot of jungle, I can look top and say, oh, never mind, Victini's here mid. He's going to throw down a ice pillar and go back top.
Yeah, not exactly the target he wants is Messiah. Maybe actually the one caught out here. No flash ability for the Talia, and Guster Posey is very, very dangerous on the bear. Nice, unstoppable to get away from the stun. Goodbye, Messiah. Says no to Lisan al-Gaib as emotional damage is forced to flash away from the fight as well. And once again, it's Elysium Omen stronger on the fights as emotional damage is going to take us on a little bit of a Benny Hill theme music here as he's running away from the members of Elysium, but they should be able to chase him down. Computer will go on a rampage.
Jarvan, we're gonna get into some lore here. Jarvan goes on a hunt to find his dad, but Sion's not up there, so... For those who know, you know. For those who don't, read the story. But yeah, Jarvan goes hunting for his long-lost father, does not find him, gets death instead, so maybe he did find his father in the long run. That's a dark joke, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
You can say that he and his father have joined together in heaven. It wasn't Katarina this time, but at the very least, it was somebody. Kobita is going to force the teleport out of Messiah on the bottom side of the map. And this game feels much more in Elysium Omen's hands. The split pusher is much more tame and controlled this time around. It's not Victini on his Yorick running a train on the side lane versus Induced. It's much more stabilized. Trundle isn't on 2 items, isn't on 3 items at 20 minutes. He's much more manageable this time around. And it feels like Elysium Omen have been the better team in a lot of the team fights. Unless Messiah can start pulling out some miracle rocks, it feels like this should just be Elysium's game to win as the game continues on.
That I would agree with that. What I don't agree with is Stepro's build. I think this would be the game where you really want to go that lethality build, where you can just sit mid lane, clear out waves with the Talia, clear out and get a little bit of poke and some vision down, and allow the Trundle to have a bit more time, because against a misfortunate Corki and a Volibear and all these people who are going to be jumping in, you don't want to be in that closer range, and Leona as well, to be trying to have all your damage be auto-attack based. You want your damage to be poke based, I think, and stay a little bit farther back. So I think the lethality build probably would have been a little bit better here, but what do I know? I'm only also Emerald, so
he does have some healthy tanks to shred through between Guster Posey and Barola, so it will be a little difficult for the lethality build to get through those healthier members of Elysium Omen. So with the on-hit build, he should have a bit more damage into the tanks, but I do think you're right. It's going to be a struggle for him to match the wave clear of the Misfortune, especially with her own lethality build. She clears waves very, very easily. With the shorter cooldown on her ultimate, she can even toss that out if she needs to full clear a wave in a panic mode, but she would much rather be saving those for a fight. But now it's just, again, been a fairly quiet game for at least this last little bit. I think it was really just waiting for the objectives is the next big deal. Both of these teams really want to be there to fight for the objective, want to make sure that they are there, making some sort of contest happen.
Yep, it's going to be another game of dragon stacking. Can emotional damage steal away another one? Cork is going to reset, and I believe probably is the package going to be up in time. I'm going to go do a quick little click here and check on Corky. The package is now up. So he's going to pick up the package, and that's going to be really big. Teleporting mid lane, that's going to be big for these fights. Let's see if they can actually catch it here.
Yeah,
Nope.
Looks like they might have Step Bro stepping way too far out of position. Dilly shuts him down with the bullet time, and now Messiah as well. Forced out, trying to protect his teammate. A nice package from Kobita will secure two. Not even caring about Dragon Soul Point. They're just looking straight for the Baron.
Now be careful because emotional damage is still up and he's padding up to go for another steal. Trundle on the flip side has taken another tower, so Trundle's split push is starting to come slowly online. Let's see if emotional damage can do his thing and get around into the pit.
They have
yeah, he is going to be able to loop around here.
Rolo has
Corky.
Yeah, Corky's just going to chase him now. Kobita does not want to let Gusto Posey get another steal on his belt. Is going to shut down emotional damage. Victini's forced out of the top lane. No miracle steals this time around. It's just the Baron secure for Elysium Omen. And they should just be able to translate that into that mid lane turret, into maybe a couple of bottom lane turrets, and that dragon as well.
This game is slowly starting to slip out of Rocketfellas' hands. Trundle has not had enough pressure on a side lane, does have that Trinity Force completed, but it's just at this point you need a bit more. You're still like struggling to match against the Gragas, and they're going to have this third dragon here, just going to go over basically guaranteed because unless, you know, you're talking about that miracle Q from this Talia, can she get it? Nope,
Throwing a couple rocks, but
here.
I think Kobita and Dilly have spotted her out. Too many jungle steals around this time in the series, as Brolo's actually going to flash away from that play. Does not want to get caught out while his team is not around. But too many steals this time around. Now the members of Elysium are hyper aware of any individual member who could get close to an objective and are not going to let them stay nearby.
Yep, and it's just smart play there, just to make sure that no one can you know, get in there and try to have an opportunity to steal, even if it is just a Talia. You know, that's just the smart play to go for. So they get another kill out of it as well.
Solar Flare in the mid lane here, stepping away from Step Bro, but
emotional damage.
Actually looking for an engage in the 3v3, but I don't think this is the one you want to take. He's going to be forced to use his flash and the flash out of the Varus as well, as they lose their tower regardless. A little bit overzealous, I think, from emotional damage.
Okay, let's see this 1v1 slapfest up at the top side. Never mind, they're just going to go back to farming.
Yeah, so Deuce has a 3-level lead. I don't think Victini wants to take this one in particular, so he's just going to be happy to stop the wave from going in. But in the meantime, stopping waves, Messiah just stomped under his own tower. He was there 1 second, he disappeared the next. There is no Messiah to save Rocketfellas this time around. They have to try and save themselves, and it's not looking pretty.
This is where you start to get really concerned if you're Rocketfellas. Yeah, you're down about 10,000 gold at this point. This Corky is closing in on level 16. Gragas is still winning in the side lane against the Trundle. And your Volibear is really kind of a menace in these kind of quick team fights. What's her name? The Misfortune, they're also just doing some great stuff, has triple items there with lethality. And Brahm's shield has been largely ineffective against those ultimates, as Trundle's going to sit mid lane and...
He's just gonna
get it. There he goes.
Yeah, he'll just take that one down. I will say for the members of Rocketfellas, there is some level of concern for them, but I think there's also a part of them that just says, okay, Game 2, kind of a wash. We had a great game versus Elysium in Game 1, but Game 2 didn't go our way, that's fine. What can we change in Game 3, and what are we looking for throughout the next part of the series? Because, again, unless some sort of miracle comeback does happen, unless Elysium Omen really tries to throw this game away, I think it's very difficult for them to lose at this point. So thinking about Game 3 for Rocketfellas, I'm wondering what they can do to change up this draft a little bit, or maybe change up their gameplay in the early game to look for some sort of plays. Pandaboat is going to get engaged on Step Bro, who's just, oh my god, the combo! Rockets plus bullets equals death, who would have thought? Now the siege will continue in earnest. Elysium Omen is just going to start pushing down this tower. Victini doing a great job away from him.
That's a big shove. Oh, here we go.
Fighting the vehicle they were hoping for. They managed to trade back onto one, but it's just under the support. Dilly now getting very, very low. Victini on the back line. They were hoping for a Messiah, and his name is Victini. Can he chase down Kobita, though. This big one is going to do a lot of damage if it actually manages to catch. Panda holding up that shield is going to drop down that exhaust. He manages to flash away. And Deuce is in. He might look to save his own team. Messiah gets up that kill down. Victini picks up the last hit. Panda should go down, but a nice shield to get away from that explosive blast. Victini gets an influx of gold over the course of the entire fight. I called it out too early. Rocketfellas are still in it.
Yeah, Rocketfellas heard you say that they need to figure out what's going on for next game, and they said, hold up, this game isn't over yet. They win, they get a full ace on the map, and that is a big inflection of gold, particularly into Victini, who now has completed that Spirit Visage and a Hull Breaker. So now this Trundle is actually online, hit level 16, so that's a level 3, what do you call that thing, the Subjugate. So he's going to be very strong now.
Yeah, I apologize, Rocketfellas. I was unfamiliar with your game. You're still in it. You're still looking for a win here. Damn. An incredible shove from Messiah in that fight to off emotional damage, gets the flag and drag follow-up, and Victini just playing the lethal tempo Trundle. He auto-attacked everybody down, and by God, did he look great doing it.
Yep, Trundle just, I mean, the Gragas just not quite enough damage. Braum lives on a sliver of health. Trundle now has enough lifesteal where he can start to really, you know, just stay alive in these sustained fights. You can see the Corki poke is kind of ineffective in his Corki's in trouble.
In trouble. He uses that Valkyrie too early. The pillar will shut him down. Victini's a monster in the side lane. He's going to look to take
It's happening again.
He's going to look to take the inhibitor as well. I don't think Induced actually has the damage to stop him. They're going to send every member of Elysium back. They'll still get the inhibitor. He'll die for it. But once again, all chat hashtag work.
I think this is a bit of a misplay here, though, from Rocketfellas. They decide to pivot towards mid lane, but that's going to allow Guster Posey to have enough time to get down here to contest this dragon. I guess it did just spawn right now.
They're actually going to look to play for a little bit of a cheat.
Here we go.
There is full vision. They should know that the members of Rocketfellas are not on the objective. Guster Posey should get stunned up here. Just one more auto attack looking down, but Barolo doing an incredible job of displacing on the back line. Stepbro not allowed to throw a single auto attack into the squishy members. Emotional damage goes down. Messiah trying to kite away. Kindabot will die for him. Not for his savior, but for his sins. It's a double kill for Dilly, and they're going to be able to pick up the soul.
How the turntables have, yeah. It's a bad fight there. They do take the tower. Inhibitor is gone, but Victini trades the life for, and that's kind of where your entire win condition is at this point, because the Jarvan is 1-6, the Talia is 2-7, the AD carry is 0-4. So Victini is going to be able to pick up this wave. So no inhibitor tower's gone yet, but Baron is now up. They're going to be rotating up for it. It should be basically uncontested because Jungler is just now respawning, and Messiah is gone for a while.
They don't have a lot of damage on this Baron because this lethality misfortune is not great. It's going to give emotional damage time to get nearby. Now, I'm not one to call a miracle, but he's in the area, and you can see Barolo on the bottom of your screen just looking to play interference. He's got wards now. They really want to make sure that emotional damage is not getting anywhere close to this pit. He's got the flag. Can he get in? No, flashes forward, but can't get in range. Stepbro tries to get a piercing arrow, but has to flash away from that bullet time. Solar Flare doesn't land for Barolo. He does get the slow, though. Stepbro no cleanse means that he's just dead. Dilly goes on a rampage. Messiah's going to drop the wall to make sure that Panda Boat has an angle out and can't get fully chased down. But Guster Posey wants to keep going, but a nice flick back from Messiah should just keep him away. I'm sorry, Elysium Omen, I was also unfamiliar with your game, as they take the ace, take the team fight, take the Baron, and are going to look to try and shut up the game.
Yeah, they're lucky for Rocketfellas that all three lanes were shoved, and top lane's actually shoving pretty hard up there. So anyone's game still at this point, because the Baron, like if they had the shove, like the wave shoved forward and it was 2 kills off, they could have just straight up tried to end the game, as Victini's going to stop the reset.
He might look for something, but Induce just a little bit too quick on the Gragas. That Cosmic Drive in his inventory going to make him very, very speedy as he waddles his way out of there. Finishes up that recall now with the Death Cap in inventory. We haven't been seeing too much of this Gragas in the team fights, but I think the next ult he lands might just be a game ender.
It just might, so we'll have to see. It's just difficult to call who's going to win this from this point. Yeah, that Mountain Soul is big, but Victini really doesn't care about it because he will shred through anyone, whether you have that little bit of extra armor or not. The ult is going to take it away, so... anyone's game at this point still.
While the gold lead is very much in favor of Elysium Omen, the gold went on to the valuable member in Victini for Rocketfellas. That full build split pusher now up there on the top side. If he can look to try and get some sort of side lane pressure going while the rest of his team stalls, it's just going to be on the 4 extra members of Rocketfellas to not lose the game while Victini tries to win it from the other side.
Absolutely. Let's see if they can, how effectively they can use this Baron though. Barolo might be in trouble. Here we go.
There's that subjugate from Victini. The stun's up. It's a great wall into the bullet time, delaying so much damage. Marolo's just bursting, and Juice is here. He's looking for the ulti. It's nice on the 3, but he doesn't get too much more than that. Panda actually manages to survive, and so does Victini. Emotional damage flags and drives in just to get out, but Gusterposey smites down Victini, and now is looking to pick up the Messiah as well. It's a nice flag and drag onto 2. There's the Cataclysm, but it just won't find enough, and Deuce will go on a killing spree. It's just the bottom lane from Rocketfellas left, and I do not think they'll be able to stop the 4-man strong from Elysium Omen from just locking this game out.
Yeah, Trundle tried to walk back in there for some reason. Should have just continued to walk back and reset to be there for the defense. But no, steps forward and then gets caught by Gusterposey. They might actually be able to hang on to this. No, that's just a lot of damage out of the Gragas.
Varus almost down onto 1 HP. Gobita flashes forward to smite him away. Picks up the snipe off the rocket. Pandavote is ulted back into his base just to watch his Nexus fall. We're going to game 3.
Game 3 it is. What a very back and forth mid-late game that was too. It swung all over the place. So interesting stuff indeed. I think what they should have done there when that fight started to really go down, Trundle should have just teleported topside and tried to end the game right there. I think that was a legitimate win angle right there they could have done and just kind of go for the base race.
I think it's difficult through the Baron buff recalls and the Baron buff pushing, but I think at this point in the game, when you're that far behind in gold, obviously the players can't see it, but you can kind of feel it when you see the objective bounties up, when you see the inventory differences. You kind of know how far behind you are. And you have to kind of know what your sort of miracle win condition out of a team is, and in this case, it was Victini trying to win on the side lane, but great team fighting from Elysium Omen and great macro play from them just shuts it down overall, and they managed to clock out a win and take us to game 3.
Yep, it's going to be a game 3 angle indeed. Shout out to Dilly for the 9-1-12 lethality misfortune, doing the most damage in the game. Really kind of popped off with those ultimates. Braum was just not quite able to get that shield in front. Did it for a few of those last couple misfortune bullet times, but it was just too little too late. Dilly takes over the game. Kobita takes over the game. Gusterposey, a monstrous performance there. Second game in a row on the Volibear, and that's going to carry us to a game 3. Don't go anywhere. We've got that coming for you right up after this.
We don't need them. So can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you. We need to slow down. Embrace the love we found. For you and I are safe and sound. We were on the run, rocking around the clock. Now all we need is right here in front of us. In front of us. So can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you.
Can I be your star tonight? You fill my soul with light the day we met. I don't wanna leave your side, no. Have me by your side when the sun sets. I hope you'll still want me, I hope you'll still need me 1,000,000 years from now. The seasons are changing, the nights ever fading. It's time we left the ground. Let's leave for an eternity. Sail across the lights beyond the sky. I'll be with you eternally. Addict for your love, it keeps me high. Keeps me high. Can I be your star tonight? You fill my soul with light the day we met. I don't wanna leave your side, no. Have me by your side when the sun sets. Let's leave for an eternity. We'll sail across the lights beyond the sky. I'll be with you eternally. I'm an addict for your love, it keeps me high, keeps me high.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here for Game 3 of Elysium Omen versus Rocketfellas Equinox. After a very exciting Game 2 where Elysium Omen took back control of this series and are setting themselves to match point. It's all down to a best of one to see how playoffs contention is going to lock up in here in our second to last week of the regular season.
Yeah, we've got one final banger for you to see if, these teams what they're going to throw down here. Nocturne banned away, Trundle banned away. So Victini and emotional damage being taken off of some of those high, damage champions that they were really carrying with. Karma Zach going to be banned away again. We'll see what the last ban. Do they just ban away the York to really get Victini off of his comfort?
I wouldn't hate that. I think that would be the right call. They're going to do it. They're just fully fanning out the split push from Victini. I wonder what he's going to opt for next. As they'll probably, since they are back onto the red side, they might just save that for counterpick for him, let him in, and that's a Volumer ban. That's not a Smolder ban. Rocketfellas, what have you done? The baby, he's unleashed. Elysium Omen should just first pick it here.
If Dilly is, yep, there we go. First pick,
Yeah.
Smolder, and already Elysium, according to the win rates, has a 54% chance of winning this game. So.
Yeah, he's not nerfed until next patch, which I believe is in a week and a half from now. So he's still going to be pretty strong in most of your solo queue games. If you are on the red side, you probably should just continue to ban that one. Unlike Rocketfellas did here, they do manage to grab themselves the Misfortune and the Wukong in response, which is a pretty good wombo combo little composition for themselves. The Cyclone plus the Bullet Time. He's a lot of great damage overall, but can it beat Elder Dragon on a champion? We'll have to find out, as it is going to be the Gragas once again locked in, probably going into the hands of Induced, but he's still flexible to go into the hands of Guster Posey as well.
Yeah, most likely gonna go into Induce, but yeah, it can work as a jungler as well. Leona gonna be the final support there to pair along with the Smolder, which is a little bit less common, but there's going to be the Maokai. And since we see a Wukong, most likely it's gonna be a Maokai support, although there is some credence to saying the Maokai or the Wukong are going top lane, and one of them is gonna be going support, one of them is gonna be going jungle. It's kind of all over the place, so you can't really say too much about the draft just yet.
Yeah, with the bans from Elysium Omen, though, it looks like they are expecting these to be jungle and support at the very least, with that Garen ban away from Victini, really just taking away all the potential options of sit in the side lane, do nothing, and win kind of gameplay. As Rocketfellas are going to take away some mid and jungles themselves with the Aurelion Soul and the Vi. And now with Messiah's already taken away once again, what is the option going to be for them in the mid lane in this game 3?
Yeah, there's a lot that's kind of off the table, but two things that are up are Nico and Orianna. Yep, both of those have been banned out in previous games in the past 2 games, but this time both of them are up. So maybe they're just gonna flip them one way or the other. You can have one and I'll take the other, Like, you take the highway, I'll take the low way. There we go, there's the Orianna. Do we see the Nico on the response? I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, I think Nico would be really good for this Elysium Omen composition as well. Works really well with the Orianna and with the Gragas. Has some great setup in team fights, and I think as long as you lock away with a good jungler who can have you some engage for you, or a good top laner with some engage, if you think that the Gragas is going to go into the jungle, Elysium Omen has a pretty nice draft for themselves, and I think this final piece should really just settle the whole thing. Yeah, Jarvan.
There's a Jarvan.
Wow.
Perfect. Yep. Great comps there. Great engage, and then the Smolder in the backline. We'll have to see though, what is Victini going to cook for top lane? It's going to be an Urgot into the Gragas, so that'll be fun to watch.
Urgot is. I haven't seen too much recently.
No, but Urgot, I've played against him in solo queue a couple of times. You rush Black Cleaver and you are just completely online and just completely dominating in that side lane. So Urgot is going to be another one of those just really strong side lane split pushers that can just completely take over a lane. And unlike against the Trundle, Gragas is going to struggle a bit more into the Urgot because Urgot just has a lot more range and has that shielding at basically level 1. And so you can stay in these fights a lot longer, and your DPS is just a lot higher than Gragas as well. You've got that poke with the Q, you've got the wave clear with the W. I think Urgot is a great pick here into the Gragas.
Yeah, we'll have to see how well Victini can do. He's been pretty off meta, I would say, over the course of this entire series, and Urgot, he's not much different, though. I'm just looking at the Exodia that Elysium has drafted for themselves. The setup of Jarvan Nico is a great mid-jungle 2v2. You have Smolder for that guaranteed late game scaling. You have really easy engage buttons with that Jarvan and with the Leona as well. Some consistency from top lane into Gragas. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to lose this game. Rocketfellas has some great options for themselves. They have a great ball delivery system with the Wukong, with the Maokai, and some great combo potential with that Misfortune. But I just don't know how you beat Smolder.
Yeah, Smolder is going to be difficult. Now, the one thing that I can say is a good Shockwave into a Cyclone with a Misfortune ult over the top may be your saving grace to get that Smolder, because you don't really have any peel away from it outside of maybe a nice Leona ult onto the Misfortune. But that is still, you really have to play proactively as Rocketfellas to get that Smolder, especially as you get to the late game. It's going to be very difficult to keep this dragon down.
Yeah, keeping the dragon down really is going to be the name of the game here. As always, whenever Smolder is drafted, he becomes the centerpiece of the game. I would expect to see junglers starting on the top side, pathing down. I think for Rocketfellas especially, you want this Misfortune ahead near the game. You don't want Smolder sitting in lane, free stacking, just happily farming away there in the bottom side. And for Elysium, you want to make sure that emotional damage isn't just sitting on top of the baby dragon and not letting him farm. You want to make sure that he's protected. So I'm expecting to see top laners sort of just beating each other up, mid laners and junglers roaming down to the bottom lane, and this entire game should entirely focus on this one champion, because that's how he's designed.
Yep, we're going to have to see how this Smolder can get to that all-important number 225. With that being said, I think we should maybe we should just go ahead and watch it and see what happens. Should we not?
I think that's an excellent idea. We're going to hop
Here we go.
to the rift for Game 3 of Elysium Omen versus Rocketfellas Equinox. And if you weren't here for Game 1, I'll go over the potential ramifications once again, as we are in the second to last week of the regular season. Elysium Omen is sitting in the third seed, sitting at 5-2. The teams above them are at 6-1 and 7-0. So if they do secure a win here, they can lock themselves pretty much into that top 4, get themselves very close to maybe even pushing for a top 2 seeding if Syndicate Redacted ends up struggling in their game this week and next week. And for Rocketfellas Equinox, they're sitting at 4-3 in the 6th seed spot. And if they get this win and their win next week, there is a decent chance that they will take a top 4 placement and lock themselves into the playoffs.
Big playoff ramifications for both teams here, and it's all going to come down to this. It's all going to come down to one baby dragon that Riot forgot to nerf. So we will see how it pans out. Can Stepbro get some good bullet times? There are some big shockwaves from Messiah. Messiah had a really nice game 1 and then a kind of quiet game 2. So we'll have to see, can you turn it back around when you're back on red side?
Yeah, and especially on Orianna, this champion is such a playmaker. I think you really do have to be loud and in your face on this champion. If you're not seeing 3- and 4-man shockwaves in a lot of fights, or at the very least onto key targets, it can definitely start to be a struggle, as Panda Boat and Stepbro are already looking to get aggressive onto this dragon early on. Ignite's traded into support and AD carry, just forcing Dilly out to play super safely at this level 1.
It's really important that you hold off Dilly from getting to that. I think it's, 125, where you can start to like AoE clear the waves, or maybe it's 75.
25 is the AoE, 125 is the backsplash, and then 225 is that execute.
There we go. I don't play that Smolder. I have standards for when I play League. So I really don't know. All I know is 125 and 225. I don't know where any of the other ones are. But yeah, you really want to keep Smolder from hitting that AoE as long as you can. So getting off that trade and forcing out that health pot early from the little dragon is a very good thing. So you can really hold him back, as we're going to do an immediate just check on the Smolder. Has only 1 stack. So that's really good for them. That's really good.
Yeah, it will be very slow. The Smolder scaling, the stack gaining sort of comes in stages. From 0 to 25, it's very slow because your Q has no AoE. You're really relying on hitting Q and W1 enemies to get the most of your stacks. But once you get past 25, you get a little bit of AoE on it. You can start farming multiple minions at a time, maybe even hitting a last hit and a champion to get 2 stacks. And then once you get past 125, you really start to accelerate, because the backsplash lets you farm so many minions, and just in team fights, free hit enemy champions just by hitting somebody who's in front of them. It's a lot of work, and already we can see that first
Jarvan's here.
side gank. Guster Posey is here. They're going to force the flash out of Panda Boat, but Bardolo hits the Zenith Blade early. Flash forward from Guster Posey, smacks him down with the Martial Poise. First blood from the Jarvan.
Guster Posey really struggled in that first game, but ever since then has been really pretty much lights out, just dominating the jungle outside of those smites, which we don't talk about. But great stuff here. Once again, Guster Posey coming out level 3 gank bot side, gets some prio back over to the Smolder. Is going to be able to farm a bit more comfortably, especially with the wave crash. So you can kind of freeze it there under tower and just slowly stack those minions up, slowly get to number 25 so you can start doing those AoE hits. Smolder now at 11 is going to be able to very comfortably farm these stacks up in the bot side with the wave where it's at. So good stuff over to Guster Posey, recognizing the game state and what you want to win and trying to get your dilly to that point as fast as possible.
Yeah, and with the Raptors and the Krugs being respawned now, I wonder if there's even an opportunity for Guster Posey to just, off of this recall, farm out those Krugs and immediately come back into the bottom lane, punish this misfortune. She does have Cleanse and Flash, but if you can burn one of those two, or even both of those Summoner spells, you can really start to lock this bottom lane away.
You know, you really can. Smolder, though, is, you know, one of those champions you want to be careful about because the way that the champion scales is just so odd. So, you know, playing around it quickly, good thing the Jarvan has a lot of that early kind of base damage with that passive. So you can just kind of smack someone for that first basic hit and it just does a ton of damage. And that's basically what secured it. On top of that, Panda kind of greeting the flash a tiny bit, not flashing the flag and drag, because that allows Leona to follow up with that E, that Zenith Blade, and gets a kill there. So Dilly taking a good chunk of damage there, though, so he's going to have to recall here. But he wants to recall anyways pretty soon. So no big deal. Dilly is not concerned at all.
We do actually see a bit of the opposite of what I expected. We see Barolo moving up towards the top side to make sure that these Ed, and Eddie are going to be secured in favor of Elysium. They do seem to have a lot of priority on this particular objective as a team. It seems like the one that they opt to go for very often and are happy to just give up some early dragon priority to go for it. As Barolo maybe looking for a Victini here. He's going to get that nice cancel out with the dash from Urgot. Induced. We'll get some extra damage on top of the Urgot, but overall, just a health bar trade, nothing else extreme.
That is going to mean emotional damage can pick up yet another dragon. And for those of you who have been watching the whole series, he's been picking up a lot of them. Most of them deserved, a few of them, you know, stolen away. Little criminal that he is. But, you know, good stuff over to emotional damage. Just trade the neutral objectives. And, yeah, Jarvan's here. They might be diving because Victini is completely out of mana.
Yeah, Induced is pretty low on mana, so I don't think there will be enough for a full combo, maybe just an explosive cast or just a belly bop from Induced. But this wave is massive. Victini really wants to stay for it. There's that explosive cast to keep him under tower.
Oh, the flash is
Victini
nice.
To get away from it. Induced is forced to flash out. Great counterplay. Victini is actually pretty close to having enough mana for that Fear Beyond Death, so Induced going to take a safer path on recall, try and go somewhere a little unexpected. Does not want to get caught out by a random skill shot.
Yeah, that dive did not go how you wanted it to. Victini was very aware of what's going on, had a nice flash. Guster Posey, you know, you do blow the flash, but you do blow the flash for both sides. And so Urgot gets to collect this wave completely safely. It's still down about 10 CS, but Urgot's goal is not to win super early. You want to wait until you really get those that black cleaver, like I was saying online. And so yep, he's starting to build towards it already. I do believe Tunneler builds into Black Cleaver. Got the Tunneler, got the boots, and picks up a pink ward.
Doesn't.
I keep calling it a pink ward.
The
control
Tunneler doesn't
ward now.
go into Cleaver. That's Phage and Caulfield's Warhammer. I'm actually curious what he's building. It might be...
Oh.
I've seen some Urgot tech recently with Hullbreaker first, but I'm not sure Tunneler builds into that. I'm wondering if maybe it's like a Titanic Hydra. I think there are some options here for Victini. He has a lot of choices. And I do think the Hull starting item for him, just allowing him to get as much gold as possible out of this laning phase, should accelerate him to that first item a little bit faster than Induced, even with the CS lead.
Yeah, it is a smart item to go for that Cole, where you can just basically farm more or less even, which he's doing. Sure, he's down a bit of CS, and once Gragas catches this wave, it's going to be even better. You want to go underneath that turret there.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the play here.
There's the explosive cast. It actually misses onto Victini. There's that Fear Beyond Death. Just a little bit more damage. One more pop. Get in. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Victini finds the solo kill.
Victini is having. I was doubting a little.
Oh, Messiah flashes into it! Oh, it's a disaster in the mid lane! Kobita finds the kill! Oh, that hurts and it was all caught on camera. I'm so sorry, Messiah.
That is one of those ones where you just want that one back. You're shaking your head. Your skin, your cheeks are about as red as your health bars are right now because you're on red side. And it's just a very unfortunate moment there for Messiah. No, man, we're just gonna
hurts.
Yeah, it's just it's just pain.
Because it was entirely on the camera. We saw the whole thing. It was great positioning from Guster Posey to force him towards Kobita, and the aggressive flash forward probably spooked Messiah a little bit, but man, you're going to be doing the VOD review of that one, looking at that play over and over again, just like, man, if I had flashed like a frame later, if I had waited just a second longer, the root wouldn't have been there, I would have been okay, but we don't live in a world of ifs, ands, and maybes, and maybe Kobita's in trouble here. There's that bullet time, plenty of damage down onto this Nico. Very, very low, a little bit of awkward pathing there from the Vastaya Shire, but she managed just to walk out just fine.
What did you call it? The Vastaya Shire?
Yes, because it's one of the original Vastayas, one of their ancestor tribes from way back in the day. I know a bit about the lore.
Is that what who is that what Maokai is? Or is that Wukong?
That's what Nico is, I believe.
Oh, Nico. Okay.
Unless I'm misremembering my lore, which I obviously could be, but I'm fairly confident about that one, as it is going to be Rocketfellas actually the one to take away 3 grubs this time around, once again denying the 5 and even getting that 3rd one for themselves. So the Kanker sisters will not be united with Ed, Ed, and Eddie in death this time around. They will be fully isolated 3 of 3.
I'm not going to let you get away with that one. We're going to go to a different franchise. You already called them Ed, Ed, and Eddie, and you're staying in the same franchise. This is going to be, what is it, what they call them? So I grew up watching, like, the DuckTales in German, because I grew up in Germany. So in German, they're Tick, Trick, and Track. But in English, I believe they're Huey, Louie, and Dewey. So the second half is Huey, Louie, and Dewey. That's what we're going to go with. So we've got Ed, Ed, and Eddie, and then Huey, Louie, and Dewey. Or the second half.
Victini, with the Rectrix aim inventory, the little move speed AD item, I believe he is actually going towards the Hullbreaker first item here on the Urgot. Happy to have called that one out. But for now, it looks like both of these teams are actually looking to settle up for this second dragon. Neither team wants to be the one to give away that mountain dragon. If Elysium Omen can grab this, it's another extra 5 minutes bought for their Smolder to delay and to get some extra stacking time. And if Rocketfellas can get this, they can start to accelerate towards the Elder Dragon before the enemy Elder Dragon, and maybe start to take away this game.
Yep, it's all on to Guster and emotional damage. How will they use their smite buttons? So far, emotional damage is up 3-0, but the game score is still 1-1. So Guster Posey is looking over the side of the wall, and Panda might catch him on here, though.
A little bit misplaced there from that Bramble Smash. They're going to force him away. Immediate flash away from Stepbro out of that Cataclysm, and it's emotional damage actually the one caught out in the pit as the rest of his team tries to chase down Kobita, but they do not manage to catch Nico, and now we're going to get collapsed on. Nice flash from Panda, but with the Bramble away to get away, but he does not get away. Messiah, another one caught. The shockwave was nice on it too, but it's just not enough. It's a double kill for the Dragon, and it's the exact member that Elysium wanted those kills to go on. Nice fight from them.
Yep, that's a good fight indeed. Mom comes roaring over the top. The flash away from the Jarvan ult means it splits the fight in half, and then emotional damage gets kind of stuck there in front of the Dragon all by his lonesome. Does split apart, say I'm really lonely here, so makes the clone show up, but for what? And it's just, you die, and then the rest of the team is overextended trying to chase after Kobita's Nico, that Vastaya Shire, and the Vastaya Shire continues to live like you have been for a long time, and they chase down and get a couple more kills to Smolder. So now Smolder 2-0-2, up 20 CS in the bot lane, has a 200 gold bounty, and it's going to do a quick stack check. It's on 75 stacks now, so yeah, it's not looking good.
He's approaching that 125, which is really where he's going to start accelerating those stacks. Normally, you're getting to
Oh, nice.
A nice engage. Kobita with a great two-man. Ruparola with a nice follow-up on Solar Flare. They catch on emotional damage. Panda Boat forced to run away. He will actually be able to escape unless Guster Posey looks for another flag and drag, but Kobita doesn't want to let him go. Rocket Belt's forward, but is forced to flash away. His step bro is right there.
Dilly!
Oh, Dilly flashes forward, sneezes all over Panda Boat. That is unsanitary, but it does net him the kill. His third of the game.
Yep, Panda Boat should have been wearing a mask. It's COVID times, but does not. The sneeze gets all over to him, and that is an execute. So goodbye.
Yeah, picks up his third kill, and it will net Elysium Omen the Dragon as well. So 5 extra minutes bought if the game starts to fall out of their control. But right now, they are happily in the driver's seat. Just about 4,000 gold in their favor as maybe a bit over-aggressive from Guster Posey. Nice smite for emotional damage to secure his own blue buff. They will be able to walk the Jarvan out of their jungle, but they don't have enough damage to kill him just yet. So he will be fine to get away from that one.
Good secure there from emotional damage, but, you know, he's been really good on that smite button when you can get to the smite, but when the fight happens beforehand, uh-oh.
You are 2 levels down. I'm not 100% sure you want this. There's that Cataclysm. The Bull Time's going to do some work, but Mom does more. Dilly goes on a rampage. Guster Posey now potentially in trouble in the 1 versus 2 as Dilly has said, goodbye, my jungler. You got me a kill. You have served your purpose. Now die for my sins. As Messiah's going to teleport in to try and pick up the last hit on this one. It should just be able to donate it over. One more auto attack from the Orianna. No, it's actually emotional damage who gets to pick that one up as in the meantime in the top side, Barolo and Induced are getting the engage down onto Victini. Kobita's here as well just to say hello with a rocket belt to the face. He also goes on a rampage.
It's not looking good for Rocketfellas. They're down 4,000 gold. The Smolder is stacking very nicely. They picked up 9 kills for themselves. Dragons are even. Top lane tower is about to drop. That's going to be the first gold turret. So now we're going to snowball to nearly a... Yeah, it's a little bit over 4,000 gold lead now. So big leads over to Elysium, and they have the scaling advantage. So it's going to be, you're going to need to see emotional damage, and Victini, who have been the ones to win that first game, really took to come online here, and they need to do it quickly.
Yeah, I was gonna have like this whole top ready over the course of the game. Like, okay, Rocketfellas with their comp should get ahead early game, and it's gonna be on Elysium Omen to hold the line, to make sure they can get what little wins they do, try and keep themselves in the game. Like, even if they're behind, they can still manage this game through scaling and through power. But they're up 4,000 golds with the scaling team. Smolder's 4-0. And it's not going to get much better for Rocketfellas as this game goes on. I mean, Greg scales really well. He's got that Roa in inventory. Nico engages will always be good because it's Nico. And Smolder is Smolder. He's going to scale. So this one's looking rough for Rocketfellas. I think they're going to need another miracle if they want to pull this one out.
Victini is trying to create some miracles, though, stepping forward. That's a lot of damage. That Hullbreaker is done. So... Victini does do a lot of damage at this point. So maybe he's your avenue into a win condition, but we will have to see as this game progresses. Because Urgot is a little ways away from when he can really start to take over a lane.
Yeah, it should be that Shojin coming through second item for Dilly. I will say, I did play Smolder earlier today in an ARAM. I finally tried the Drake build as opposed to the Shojin Leandry's build that has been going around a lot for him. And I have to say, it felt a lot weaker than I expected it to be. I think the Shojin plus Leandry's combo is probably just better. And speaking of combos, Mom comes through as Messiah is forced to flash out of that Cataclysm. And a flashless Orianna is a very easy target to engage on.
Yeah, very easy, especially for a Nico and a Jarvan, a Leona, a Gragas. There's just so much. Victini might be in trouble here, though. Yeah, he's just going to try to take the trade here. Does he have it?
Uh-oh. Looking for a turnaround, but the Fear Beyond Death did not land, so Kobita, with a couple of tower shots to assist, will just pick that one up solo, and it's kind of falling apart here for Rocketfellas.
Yep, the gold lead is closing on a 5,000 gold lead now for Elysium, and they are not looking back, and they're not giving them many avenues. It was close there for Victini, but...
Induced might have overextended. It's a great cast, though, to push emotional damage away. And now, with no flash being committed, it means that he'll just be able to walk out there for free and keep his own flash. Nicely played by Induced.
To see, because this dragon is about to spawn in about 45 seconds. So I know everybody here on the map wants it. This is going to be a very nice little chemtrek Tech Dragon, you don't want to give it over to the Smolder, and the Smolder does want to have it. So, see what happens here the next 30 seconds. Dragon, bot lane tower is going to go down. Emotional damage going to get thumped over the head with that spear. And we continue as we set up for this final dragon, or this third dragon, rather. We're not final. We're not anywhere close to a final dragon yet.
Yeah, the Sundered Sky combined with that Jarvan passive does so much damage on that first auto attack, despite the level difference in favor of emotional damage and the damage item in his pocket is Rolo getting engaged on. I don't think that's the target that Panda Boat exactly wants to go in on, so they are just going to walk away from that. But yeah, the Jarvan single auto does so much. Shockwave onto Induce. He's going to be forced to flash away. Flag and drag out from Guster Posey. They're just doing their best to make sure that Dilly is alive and emotional damage. He's there on the backline. He doesn't have the damage. Kobita into the backline. Two-man Pop Blossom finds Step Bro, blows him up. There's the Cataclysm from Guster Posey to keep all the members of Rocketfellas in a shooting gallery for Dilly. He's managing to chase on Big TD, though. He doesn't want the free food. He wants to earn his own. He's a little hunter. He's got to flap down the Urgot. Emotional damage now over the wall, trying to look for an assassinate onto Kobita, but he outplays him with a little bit of pop of his own. It's an ace for Elysium Omen, and that should be their second dragon.
You lose the Jarvan, but the rest of the team stays alive. That fight was actually pretty close, all things considered, despite the really nice Pop Blossom that Kobita had there with the Proto Belt flash there to ensure the engage. But nonetheless, they do win the fight 5-1, and they are going to pick up this dragon. Really close to getting that mid lane tower as well. So big objectives and even more gold funneling into Elysium with that scaling as well. So it's gonna get more and more difficult for Rocketfellas as this game continues, and you really need to start going for some Hail Marys and some miracle plays at this point if you want to stay alive in this one, because a 7,000 gold gap at 19 minutes into a Smolder is just not where you want to be.
Yeah, and I think that team fight was pretty much exactly how you want to play protect the Smolder composition. You saw at the beginning, off of that Maokai ultimate, they looked to play aggressive into the Smolder, but Guster Posey and Barolo just stood in front of the dragon and said, "Don't worry, Mr. President, I'll take the hit for you." Didn't let him get crowd controlled, and then afterwards found a beautiful engage into the members of Rocketfellas, and they just made it look easy.
Baron is, doing a little bit of damage there, but Barolo's gonna heal it right back up because the jungle is the jungle. So, jungle things.
It's the Chemtech jungle. Those plants do a great job of healing you up and even give you a little shield as well, which, the plants didn't have to do that. Surely that's not like a positive evolutionary thing for them, but you know what? They did it anyway. I think we gotta say thank you, Honeyfruit, far more often than we do.
Thank Mr. Honeyfruit in the chat to have every Honeyfruit spawn in the side lane every time that you're low on health and looking for one. They will be there if you just say thank Mr. Honeyfruit. So those are the rules. I don't make up the rules. I just play the game. It is what it is. But here comes Leona. She's moving fast.
Induced is there off the side. They're gonna pop that Maokai ultimate just to try and defend. You see Victini here teleported onto the side lane, looking to get aggressive here. Emotional damage into the backline. It's a great shockwave. This might be the fight that Rocketfellas were looking for. They're onto that backline. Can they find the damage down onto Dilly? They shut down the dragon. Emotional damage picks up one. They give one over to Messiah. Guster Rose is on the backline. He will find Step Bro and maybe manage to escape with that flag and drag, but with the red buff on, he has nowhere to go. It's emotional damage picking up two. And it's great shutdowns for Rocketfellas, and with no jungler, Kobita wants to find emotional damage though. 1 HP, the shield comes through, emotional damage survives. Kobita just doesn't have the numbers. Pops the Zonius just to look a little pretty while he gives over some extra gold to Big T. And with a lot of members down, this could potentially be a Baron for Rocketfellas.
It could be. I don't think you can because the jungler is so low. So Induce could just come flying in there. Is that AP Gragas? So I think would probably just one-shot the Wukong there if you land the combo correctly. So it's probably the right call. Just take the gold that you got. You've closed it down to a 3,000 gold difference. And that's exactly what you want. You needed to take that risky fight. Urgot comes teleporting around the flank and gets the job done. A huge shockwave by Messiah, and the fight is won, and now the game is a lot more stabilized. Sure, you don't really get any objectives out of it outside of a top tower to Urgot, but, it's starting to come online, and maybe they've got a chance in this one after all.
Yeah, I mean, that was the exact fight that Rocketfellas needed. Like you said, Victini on that beautiful flank, Messiah with a great three-man shockwave, finding Dilly in it importantly. if Elysium Omen can stop them from continuing to get those fights, the game should be theirs. But if Rocketfellas can keep looking for them and keep sniping them out, they can start to come back here, and scaling be damned, they can look for a win.
Yeah, there's definitely, game is a lot more even, so there's clearly from that team fight, we can see team fight win conditions still for Rocketfellas, as the little, the big KFC there does reset a little bit, but, you know, emotional damage is good to go and finish that one off. But yeah, like, they can get some, they can definitely have some winning conditions in these fights, especially if Urgot gets nice flanks like that. Big Shockwave was obviously a big turning point there for Messiah, and that's just going to get stronger and stronger, especially if they can stall this game out long enough, which I don't know if you want to do, but if Messiah can hit that big point where she gets the death cap and the level 3 ultimate there as she gets closer to level 16, that's what you are really looking for. You get a big Shockwave with a big bullet time over the top, and any fight could be yours.
Yeah, unfortunately, Victini, not as stealthy as he thinks he is in the side lane on the Urgot, as the Hullbreaker doesn't power that cannon creep, so you can kind of just tell if they're lurking around. You can see the bigger cannon minion and just say, hey, I think Urgot might be up here on the top side, as we'll finally be spotted coming out of that brush. And we see Panda Boat here, maybe looking for a punish onto Kobita, but Kobita sniffs it out, sees that the wards are being cleared, and just says, hey, I'm not going to push up that aggressively. I do not want to die on the side lane for nothing.
Doing a quick stack check here again. We're at 24 minutes, and Smolder has 211 stacks. So we are just, what is that? We are 14 away from that tipping point. But unfortunately, the Dragon is spawning right now. And weirdly, they are deciding not to contest it at all. Maybe they want to go and sneak a Baron away with this timer. Yeah, they're going for it.
Check it. Yeah, it is just the engage onto the Baron for Rocketfellas. The members of Elysium Omen are a little far away to look for a contest, but the Baron take is not super fast. Again, Lethality Misfortune, not the quickest Baron taker in the game. Victini's going to do a decent job zoning the members off. They're just going to look for a turn instead, as Dilly's caught onto the backline, though. Hannibal's looking for an engage. Victini's there with him. The Rainbow Smash is going to allow Dilly to escape. The Shockwave flies 2 onto the backline. Emotional damage is so low, though. Trying to get the damage out of Dilly, but he does get picked up. Barola doing a great job of peeling out his AD carry. Kobita now on the backline, trying to get away from the rest of this fight, as Messiah is doing a great job of kiting away. It's Zhonya's down. Kobita trying to survive a little bit longer.
Victini is so big in this fight.
Victini's just untouchable on the Urgot. Unkillable monster in the front line. Messiah finds Barolo, and Rocketfellas continue to strike in the team fights.
That was a huge fight there for the Urgot. Yeah, Wukong does go down as Dilly gets that kill, but this Smolder at that point is just so low on health that you can't quite step into the fight. And especially with the Leona going back in there onto Kobita, who is going to die either way, I believe it was there at the end of that fight. They just both drop. They hand over kills. A free Dragon can be handed back over to Rocketfellas, and they even up the Dragon score. And this is still anyone's game. The gold is basically negligible at this point, as it's less than a 1,000 gold difference. What a great turn there off of Baron.
A great turn off of Baron, and a great comeback over the course of this game for Rocketfellas. They're playing this excellently. They know their target in the team fights. They understand that this game is all about Smolder. The early game might have been going in favor of Elysium Omen, but somehow they're managing to stifle the stacking a little bit. They're keeping the Dragon offline. I think he's just around 225 now, if we had to check in.
I will do a check real quick.
So the next fight
he is at 234, so he's on.
The next fight is going to be a lot harder, but if they continue to just dive the backline and not allow Dilly to play these fights comfortably, they have an avenue for a win condition. There's a thin line where they come out of this on top.
And the boat gonna tank up a little, forget what that is called. Let me look it up real quick.
Tangle Barb, I believe?
Is it Tangle Barb? It is Tangle Barbs, plural.
Ah, plural. I should know the names of all the abilities. It's my job, anyway. As we see the pushing in the middle lane, the way it's sort of bouncing back and forth. The next objective to fight for really is base Baron, as Guster Posey's going to flag and drag away, but there's the Maokai ult actually pop. They're going to just body block it with Barolo and be happy to walk away, and that's a big engage tool for Rocketfellas down. If Elysium can start a fight without that large tool available, there's a potential for a team fight win.
That Smolder Q is starting to do a little bit of damage, I will say.
The Essence Reaver plus the Shojin means that that Q on hit will do plenty of damage, and is going to be happily just clearing away waves and applying that true damage burn to the back line. But it really isn't Smolder doing a lot of the upfront damage, I want to say. It really is him just cleaning up after a fight that nets him most of those highlight pentakills that you see across the world. He doesn't have a ton of damage when Kobita isn't around. This Nico really is the activator for this Smolder currently, so it's just a matter of can she get into position to find a great ulti and get this miracle teamfight win that Elysium Omen kind of need at this point.
Yep. Flash is going to be up in about, what would that be? About a minute for Kobita. So that engage is going to be online here for sure for the next dragon, unless she decides to use it beforehand. But I think you want to save that flash engage for something important like a dragon, or maybe if there's a big fight around Baron, you look for it there instead. But yeah, well, yeah, Nico really needs to be the one to set up a big initial burst of damage to allow Dilly to clean it up, like you were saying. Because if not, this misfortune is really starting to come online, closing in on that third item. And that bullet time is going to hurt, and especially the real problem though is that 5 and 3 Urgot in the top lane has the triple item now completed. The new what is that item? The new Hull Breaker does not have that passive where if enemies or if allies are around, you know, that you do less resistances. So it's really just fine in a team fight now. It's not just one of those items that you buy and you use this in a team fight. So he is very strong at this point. 3 items completed, and this Urgot is level 16 and very tanky.
Yeah, we've seen how much work he can do on the backline when he gets Dilly in his little robotic arms, or I guess his robotic knees, I should say. But that's just it's the mission for both of these teams. It's all, as we said in the draft, based around this dragon. If you can protect the baby dragon and he's allowed to DPS in a fight, Elysium are going to win. But if Rocketfellas can get their dive off and can make his life a living hell, Elysium are going to struggle to find victory here.
Induced, going to go boop and pick up a purple scuttle crab. But yeah, it's really going to be all about, like, can you get into that backline and mess around with the Smolder for long enough that the Urgot can just kind of run through the front line of that fight? And can the Misfortune get a good ultimate off? There's just a lot of things that are very much, you know, in the moment skill oriented. You know, can the Pop Blossom, how's that going to be used? What about the big that really big explosive cask, or the Cataclysm from the Jarvan, the Leona ultimate, that solar flare? There's just so many skill-based ultimates and abilities that need to be executed correctly that can win, or if they're missed, lose you any team fight at this point.
Yeah, this is kind of the thing that happens in Game 3, and especially in games that matter as much as this week's. None of these players want to be the one that pulls the trigger on engage, that loses your team a fight, that ends up losing your team a game in a disastrous situation. So you can see these players sort of just cautiously playing around the objectives. Nobody wants to pull the trigger on a Baron or on a Dragon just yet, as they know.
They're going to do it again.
That other objective is going to be started up by the enemy team. As soon as Elysium turns towards the Dragon, Rocketfellas are looking towards the other side of the map. They're not pulling the trigger on the Baron just yet, so it's going to be pretty slow, which means that actually there's time for Elysium Omen to rotate up here and look for a contest. This might be overzealous from Rocketfellas. I think they have to peel away or look for a fight.
Victini is looking for a blast cone, one of the big empowered ones there. But the fight is continuing. They want to fight. Here they go.
Yeah, there's that Maokai ultimate. It just finds Barolo, but that might just be the pick they need. Messiah looking for the backline, but so is Kobita. He just finds one, but it's only onto Messiah. Dilly's on the backline in the meantime, trying to get damage down with the Smolder. Executes. He's got the true damage down with the Messiah. He finds the pop onto one. Kobita will fall, but there's that second pop. Dilly finds two. Guster Posey now trying to set up in the backline. It's a great flag and drag onto two. He picks up his own kill, denies a penta away from Smolder eventually, as Dilly should come through and pick up the third. And that's the baby dragon that you have to play for. Elysium Omen win the fight.
Yep, it's 32 minutes into the game. This dragon is now 8-1-7 with that 15 KDA. He's sitting on a very nice little 300 stacks. Well, 299 technically, but you know, what's one a dragon practice stack between friends?
Yeah, with that teamfight win, they're going to grab the inhibitor for themselves, and they don't even need to turn to the Baron yet. They're allowed to recall, as the respawn timers are still not up for Rocketfellas. They have time to reset, grab some extra items. Dilly should be able to finish this fourth item for his inventory and look to be a little bit further online as these fights continue. And again, we were talking about earlier, if Rocketfellas can get onto that back line, can force Dilly out of the fight, can keep him out of the fight, they can look for a win. But if he's allowed to free hit, if he gets these executes, I just don't see a way that Rocketfellas can find a way into this game.
Yeah, it's really tricky at this point. Yeah, Smolder does have no flash, so there's kind of a little something there, but the rest of your team outside of Urgot doesn't either. And so it's just, yeah, you're just really struggling at this point because this Smolder can just play so safe from back there and has completed that Leanders as well. Here comes Heals.
Elysium into the back line. Victini has the flash to get out of there, but Panda Boat does not. Dilly goes on a rampage, and Deuce now looking for the flank. They know that this Urgot does not have flash. The Fury on Deuce will not find anything. It's a great shockwave onto two. Barolo and Kobita forced away as Guster Posey walked a little bit too far forward. It's a nice disengage. They managed to find one off the back of it, and with no jungler, it means that no Dragon, no Baron at the very least, should go over as emotional damage trying to keep this fight going. The explosive cast doesn't find Messiah, can't knock him back into the team. But at the very least, Rocketfellas, despite going negative in terms of kills, they get the jungler, which means no Baron threat.
No Baron threat indeed. The Smolder just continues to stack, though. It is now at 10-1. So this Smolder is just very strong. Has 317 now stacked. So continuing to do more and more damage as this game ramps on. Like we said, has the Leandries completed as well. So it feels like an inevitability that is getting closer and closer to arriving for this Smolder. Now, again, big shockwave there came out of that Orion. And if she had been a little bit more... had farmed a bit more. There it is. The Rabadon's death cap is going to be completed for her. So that could be potentially game-changing because that Rabadon gives you a huge spike in gold.
Yeah, huge spike in gold value and in
damage. Yeah, gold value,
items. Yeah. And with that, it's going to be a lot more risky for Dilly and for Kobita actually to walk up and to be aggressive. You can even see Dilly itemizing towards defense. He's got that Seeker's Arm Guard in inventory, so has that one-time pop of invulnerability if he sees a Shockwave or a Cyclone on top of himself. But he is still a fairly vulnerable baby dragon. It is really on his team to keep himself safe, as it is just now posturing again for this Baron, the all-important objective that everybody wants to go for, but nobody wants to be the one to pull the trigger on it just yet.
Meanwhile, Victini has really come online and is absolutely winning those the split push war against Induced. And, well, it's going to be a good time for Gragas, who has to keep trying to clear these waves out with a Urgot, kind of hovering there and pushing these waves in again and again and again. Meanwhile, Dragon is spawning in 38 seconds, so if you're Victini, you probably want to get a reset in here, finish whatever item you were trying to build that chain vest into, and we will have another fight, and we will see if Dilly can do it again and get some more kills, or if maybe Messiah and Stepbro and Victini and the rest of the lads over there, the tree and the monkey, can turn it around and maybe get themselves back into the game a bit more decisively to get a Game 3 win here. I think it's all going to come down to what's going to happen here in the next about 30 seconds.
Yeah, this Dragon is going to be a very important objective. If Elysium Omen can pick it up, this Smolder is going to be so hard to kill. And I think that might just be the final nail in the coffin for Rocketfellas. But if we can see another big shockwave... Yeah, they're not even going to contest it. I think they're just going to give it over. Again, it's the perception of this Dragon Soul being so weak, but I think the damage reduction is going to have a lot of value in this game. It's just going to go over for free. The members of Rocketfellas stepping into the river now, but it's just too late. The Dragon's already gone.
Yeah, well, they do get the mid tower, I guess, for it, but, Panda Boat is in a bit of trouble.
It's going to be okay, though. He's got the Mercury Treads. He's able to kite it out just fine. Kite it out as he walks away in a straight line, but he manages to walk out just fine. He's got the Mercury Transit inventory. He also has that Unending Despair as well. We haven't talked too much about support itemization over the course of this series, but as you can see, the Locket there for Barolo just trying to play a bit more defensively. Again, keep the Smolder alive is the name of the game, but Pandabot wants to be aggressive, wants to be sustaining in the front line. Now the Baron started up. Elysium, they might have overstepped. Pandabo trying to be aggressive. It's a shockwave on the back. Kobita and Dilly forced to flash away. Dilly staying alive though. He's got that Zonia's pop, and they're gonna shut down emotional damage. Will find Kobita and will find Dilly. The carries of Elysium Omen are down. Victini now chasing down Barolo. They're gonna pick that one up as well. It's a double kill over to Dilly, but it's huge shutdowns going over to Rocketfellas, and that might just be the team fight they were looking for.
That was a big Big Fear Beyond Death ultimate there from the Urgot. Landed right onto Dilly, who was about to kite out of that fight and continue to rain down Dragon Fire onto the fight. But no, Urgot teleports in exactly where you want to be, lands that ultimate, pulls in the dragon, says, "You are dead to me," sends him to gray screen, takes over the fight from that point. And now this Urgot is 7-4. Very strong, has finished the Anathema's Chains, has finished the Jack Show, full build for this six-legged man in the top lane, and he is going to be a menace at this point because that Jack Show really takes him to the next level.
Yeah, 6-item build, not 6 items, but 5-item build for the Urgot, 5 items completed also for Dilly, who again got shut down. Messiah with a gorgeous shockwave onto the backline. That was exactly the one they're looking for. And that's how these fights are going to go. Every time that we see a team fight, you have to keep your eye on that ball. You have to watch that shockwave. Because if you get caught in it, and you get caught lacking, no flash, no Zhonya's, you are going to die.
Yep, this Orianna is really starting to hurt. She's built herself a Blighting Jewel as well for more magic penetration. And we'll have to see if she builds it into that Crypt Bloom or the Void Staff. I'm guessing the Crypt Bloom because it's going to be a little bit better of a magic pen item as overall, even though it has a little bit less penetration. People just tend to like it more for the heal and the sustain it gives in the fight, which will be good for that Wukong and the Urgot as we see it flash onto Messiah.
Forces the flash out of Messiah, and again, a big cooldown. I feel like we were talking about that a couple minutes ago for Messiah, maybe longer as this game is now stretching on towards the 40-minute mark. And this is this point in the game where one team fight win can end the game as Barolo, you are caught on the wrong side of the map here, smashed back by Panda Boat, maybe caught out here, very tanky on the Leona, but won't be that tanky for that long if the rest of the team can't follow up. This is a big pick. Kovitas on the backline though, finds the 3-man Pop Blossom. Can he kill Messiah? He doesn't have the damage, the shielding's too good. Fear Beyond Death from Victini into the fear for the enemy team. Elysium forced to run away now. Messiah's super low on the backline, but he doesn't matter at this point. He's done his job. Dilly trying to kite it out, trying to get these smolder stacks down, and Deuce will be the next to fall. Sacrificed into the belly of Rocketfellas. And with massive respawn timers, it's going to be the turn of the Baron.
Yeah, they are going to look for the Baron. Now, Guster Posey is alive, and maybe he can do his best emotional damage impression and steal one back. It's been 3 stolen away from him. Maybe he can even the score here a little bit. Will he even look for it? I don't think he will. Nope, he's going to start heading towards bot side. That's going to be the Dragon going over to Rocketfellas, and despite having a Smolder who is now sitting on 376 stacks, is that 3 or 2? I can't tell with the chat there in the way. Let me fix that really quick. It's blocking my view of it. Okay.
Dilly is past the 225 mark. He's very strong on
He's at 386.
Elder Dragon. 386. He does have that Anathema's Change debuff on him, though, so Victini has marked him for death as, Guster, I think maybe has overstayed his welcome here. He's going to be able to flag and drag out, but with the slows from Pandaboat and Victini, this is a huge loss. That is a minute-long death timer for now a 4v5 that Rocketfellas with a Baron buff can take anywhere on the map.
Yeah, and critically, I mean, Guster Posey is going to be alive for that Elder Dragon, but this is going to allow Rocketfellas to set up all the vision they want to push out the waves with that Baron buff, and they can really establish a ton of vision and prio if they want to around that bottom side jungle and take some massive opportunities for themselves to get prio for that Elder Dragon, as Dilly is going to throw out the Mom to help clear the way, but for what? It's just going to result in the tower falling either way, although the wave is thinned out. We're going to have another fight, though, potentially, right here.
Just walking away. He's got that W1, so he's very, very tanky on this Leona, and with the respawn timers being so close for Guster Posey, they don't want to pull the trigger on Engage just yet, because they know Jargon Cataclysm can change the tide of a fight. We're getting down to the wire here. Elder Dragon's in 20 seconds. Guster Posey will be up for it as Rolo has to be very careful here. They have to be very nervous about how they're pathing as They're going to
Here
look
comes
for
the
the
ult.
engage here out of the fight. Maokai looking for some extra damage, and Deuce is going to get away, but Barolo, I think, is just going to be the sacrificial lamb once more. He's doing a great job of tanking on the front line. Guster Posey's there on the back line. Emotional damage just snuck in onto Dilly, looking for the damage down with this baby Elder Dragon, but he's got some armor. He's got some defensive stats. Pop goes the Wukong. Dilly finds one. Guster Posey's training Kobita finds that pop also onto two. Decides taking some damage, but he's very, very tanky on this Oriana. That shielding is doing a lot of work. Panabo getting in on Kobita, but the zombies will keep him alive. Dilly doesn't get the execute down on him, so Panabo stays alive. Everybody managed to got a sliver of HP to walk away. It's emotional damage down. It's junglers down for both sides. But with Barolo also being down, it's 4 for 3. And Rocketfellas are going to turn to the Elder.
Yeah, I think the Elder just might be theirs. They can't really push past this Urgot, who sure is pretty low on health. But it's still an Urgot, who's just deceptively tanky. Oh, there's the TP. Never mind. Gragas is looking for a flank.
Risky. Induced is in here. He has his ultimate.
Kobita's here too.
As well. No pop blossom, but they can do enough to just poke away the members of Rocketfellas. They can just be annoying. Victini maybe has overstepped. He's going to fling Induced behind his back. That Fury on death is on a full health. Gragas, I don't think that's going to do very much. The Elder Dragon will go over, but Victini will be the one to be first executed. Panda Boat now doing his best to try and kite away for his team. Try and be the sacrificial lamb so the rest of his team can escape. The Elder Dragon ticking down. Can Dilly find that execute? Boom goes the explosive cast, and Deuce finds that one. It's 2 procs of the Elder Dragon off, but it is the Elder Dragon secured for Rocketfellas.
Now, the Elder Dragon is still alive for, I believe Wukong still has it. Or should have it. I don't know if he was alive yet or not. Let's see. Wukong does not have it, so it's only going to be on Misfortune and the Oriana. Only 2 people left with that Elder Dragon, so you do get it, but at what cost?
Those are the ones that matter, though. Those are
That
your
is
big
true.
damage dealers who are going to be applying that damage to the whole team. Stepbro still waiting to finish out that last item. I'm a little surprised that it's taken him this long to get there, still with that Serrated Dirk in inventory. And again, this is a game that matters so much for both of these teams. Elysium Omen wants to try and secure themselves into that top 2 seeding, look to fight for that, and Rocketfellas desperately want to fight for some playoffs contention here. They want to be in that top 4. So neither of these teams is looking to give up. We're in for a hell of a game here. This is the content I was hoping for.
This is absolutely one of the content games, game 3s of all time. It's very tense. Anyone can win this game at this point. Elder Dragons all over the place. We have, it's just like, we've had 3 objective, like big Dragon and Baron steals. We've had, you know, games get thrown back and forth, and this is another one where leads are just seesawing this way and that way, like we're at Cedar Point on a roller coaster. I have no idea what to expect from this game. This game could go for another 20 minutes. It's anyone's game.
If this game goes on another 20 minutes, I would be shocked, because I think the next big team fight where we see more than 3 people die combined should probably just be the end of the game. That Elder Dragon's not going to be on for too much longer for Rocketfellas, but at this point in the game, the respawn timers are so long, and if the fight ends up going in favor of one team or another, it should just be the end. Dilly has even swapped out the Leandrings away from his build towards the Lord Dominic's Regard instead to try and just get a little bit more tank shred into that build. Emotional damage here is on the side. He's going to spot out Guster Posey, who will just flag and drag out. But the siege continues for Rocketfellas. They do still have that Elder Dragon for just a tad longer, I believe, as Guster Posey actually looking for an engage onto emotional damage. But there's that disengage ult from Panda Boat. Guster Posey's forced away by that bullet time. Mom comes through, emotional damage. Pop to his Stair Axe. The Shockwave finds Barolo, but it's only onto Barolo. Kovitas onto the back. He only finds one on the Pop Blossom. They can't find the damage. Dilly with the execute onto emotional damage. He finds one. It goes on a killing spree, and the rest of the members of Rocketfellas are forced away. Pandabo on a sliver of HP managing to survive. The Shockwave didn't find enough. The Bullet Time didn't find enough. Rocketfellas forced away. The Baron spawning in 10 seconds. This might be Elysium's chance.
Yeah, and look topside. There's a huge wave crashing into that tower up there. You can see it on the minimap. That's Stepbro has to go up and try to catch it. So thankfully the wave is going to show up, but there's no jungler, no emotional damage there to steal another Baron away. This is absolutely Elysium's chance to get back into this game and swing it right back into their favor. A big team fight. Even though you'd only take 1 kill, it's exactly who you want the kill to go on to.
Yeah, so 25 seconds on emotional damage respawns timer. And this Baron goes down super quick. Dilly does plenty of damage to it, so unless we see some sort of bullet time over the wall and it's not even on cooldown, it shouldn't just go over to Guster Posey with the smite as Kobita, maybe actually looking for a backline engage, doesn't manage to find Step Bro with the Tangle Barbs, so is forced to just walk away. But Baron secured for Elysium Omen, and surely, somebody has to find a way to end this game.
Well, you never know. Games can go on for quite a while, and this one has no sign that it's going to let up anytime super soon. Both these teams really desperately want this win, and they are playing as if it is the last game of League of Legends they could ever play. You want to enjoy it as long as you can. It's like they're playing as if it's Club Penguin and the server's about to shut down, and you're trying to have your last little fun there on the iceberg. But nope, they're having their last little bit of fun here on the Rift. And they're playing their hearts out. Big shockwaves coming out from Messiah, big ults from Victini, Dilly being able to kite out now 15-2 on this little dragon. This game is anyone's. Kobita can come in and clutch with that Pop Blossom. I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm just sitting back and watching the carnage, and I am enjoying it.
Yeah, this is a great game of League of Legends to watch. I'm wondering who's going to have that first 6-item build, who's going to sell those boots first to try and get that little bit of extra value in a fight. These fights are just coming down so close to the wire. The wave clear is good for both of these teams, so it's so difficult to try and just siege a single lane. It has to be some sort of side lane play. And if it comes down to side lane play, Rocketfellas are comfortable with that. Victini has been a side lane god throughout this entire series. Firstly on the Yorick, then on the Trundle in a game that didn't work out in his favor, but was still a massive threat on that Trundle. And now on the Urgot, who is still such a massive threat with that Hullbreaker in his inventory.
Yep, man. Elder Dragon is spawning in 35 seconds as well. So I think this game could easily be decided in the next 30 seconds right here. It all comes down to this. 49 minutes of gameplay going to come down to the next, I'm guessing, 30 seconds to 1 minute. It all comes down to this. Let's see how they play it out. Urgot's coming over. Gragas on the way as well. They've pushed the wave under the tower, and they're trying to get as much cryo onto the dragon as they can. But any second now, it's going to happen.
There's
Here
that
comes the
Maokai
ult from the
ultimate. They're
Maokai.
looking for some damage. Kobita, he's caught. That's the real one. That's not the one that's fake. He's going to find a Pop Blossom on it. 3 of those might be the engagement. They were looking for emotional damage. Trying to get on the backline again, looking for the damage down to Dilly, but Dilly is too strong. At this point, Kobita's traded back. The Shockwave only finds one under Barolo again. It just onto the backline, but Dilly is free. Firing double kill for the Smolder. Dilly now trying to get flap in onto the backline. Flashes forward, looking for that execute on the Messiah. Can he find enough damage? Can the bird take triple kill for Dilly? He might have finally found the fight. It's 3 kills for Elysium Omen, and they're going to look to push down the enemy Nexus.
It was so close here for RFE. They were holding on to this game for so long despite trying to play up against a Smolder who's sitting on 523 ridiculous stacks, but they are managing to try to hold this on just a little bit longer as they're going to try to crash these waves, and they don't have Baron, and the wave clear from this Misfortune and Orianna are very strong, but are they going to be strong enough? They're looking to end the game right here to end the series. Can they do it?
Nexus Tower going down. They were hoping for a Messiah. They were hoping for a savior to keep their playoffs contention alive. But Elysium Omen said there is no Messiah, there is no Lisan Al Gaib, there is only Dilly, there is only Smolder, and there is only Elysium Omen taking the series.
What a back and forth exciting game, and it all comes down to that final fight. The Shockwave only land onto one. Dilly gets to go and fight the whole team fight basically untouched just after the little bit of engage there from Wukong, and then cleans it up after that. Triple kill goes over. They close out the game from there, and it is a slugfest of 50 minutes, but Elysium finally managed to snatch away a victory in that third game and get the series win 2-1 over Rocketfellas.
Yeah, a hard-fought series for both of these teams. Overall, a hell of a series, I think, for both sides. Rocketfellas really showing their stuff in Game 1. It felt like they had a chance to take the series away 2-0, but it was just Elysium Omen being a little bit tighter on the macro, being that little bit better in the micro, and drafting that little bit better, as if you leave Smolder up on red side, this is something that is just gonna happen to you. That champion is just so ridiculous, and I'm so happy that it's getting nerfed next patch.
I am looking forward to the death of a dragon. It is going to be a beautiful thing to watch. I will be lighting candles in celebration, and no more Smolder. I am very happy for this, but Dilly is very happy that Smolder is still viable. Goes 18, 2, and 8 on this dragon, 69,000 damage in a 50-minute game. That is over 1,000 damage per minute. Very
Sounds
impressive
about
stuff
right.
out of this dragon.
Yeah, after their monster series, again, congratulations to Elysium Omen, who are going to be fighting for top 4 contention now, or top 2 contention, actually, as they are already locked into the top 4. Rocketfellas dropped to 4-4. I think there is still potentially a way that they can look to get that 4th seed in playoffs, but it's going to be dependent on the rest of the teams. I think their fate is mostly out of their hands now. Speaking of being out of their hands, I think that's going to be it for us tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us for this banger of a series. I've been What's Too Pretty. That's been Sharpie. Loki's our producer in the back, and we will see you all next week for some more Divinity League action. Take care.
Have a good night, everyone.
Voices going through my head. These voices telling me what I've said about you, about what we do.
I miss you too.
Let's watch some techniques. I will free myself from